The podcast on Haunted Hill will contain spoilers and swearing.
I am the devil, and I am here to do the devil's work.
Please help us, Michael. Be one of us.
I didn't tell you my name.
Hang up.
I didn't tell them my name.
They're all a part of it. They're all parts of it.
Come. It is time to keep your appointment.
Hello and welcome to the podcast on Haunted Hill, episode 164. My name is Gavin Jonathan Hall.
Hello, I'm Daniel Martinbone. We are very British today.
Hello, everybody.
Why are we being so British, Gavin?
I don't know, it just went into that. I sometimes do my British voice. I don't know why.
Well, there is a reason why. There is the topic of this particular.
Oh, indeed, maybe my inner old man from the 50s, British man, was coming out.
Yes, indeed.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, lovely listeners, you know because you've read it, but we're doing Hammer horror films, which is a big love of ours. It's what got me into horror, really, I would say, because they were always on British TV for outside of Britain listeners. How is everybody? Is everybody well? I feel a bit weird at the moment because I'm in a different setup from normal. I'm in a makeshift sort of studio, so I'm actually got my mic in a drawer pulled out, and it's all a bit weird. So just bear with me. You
have got a very atmospheric green light in the room.
Yeah.
So you do look like you are in a Hammer horror film. I should imagine in a moment Peter Cushing will walk in behind you and say, "Good God, man, what are you doing in here?"
Yeah. Podcast? What? Podcast? Like a radio show, old boy.
I see.
Hope everybody's all right in the world out there, and you're all dandy.
I'm Dan D.
Dandy and gay. Hope everybody's dandy and gay.
Dandy and gay. We're all dandy and gay.
Daniel, how are you?
I'm very well, very excited. We are a bit sneaky, a bit cheeky, because although this year we're doing director specials, we've also managed to make this a bit of a Hammer horror, like you just said. So we are doing, this is officially a Terence Fisher director special.
To be fair, he did other stuff, but he did a lot of sort of Hammer stuff, so it's easy for us to,
he was the head boy for Hammer, really. So yes, we picked one each.
He's like your James Whale for Universal.
He was indeed. Yes, and you can compare Hammer to Universal almost in that Universal came in the 30s, 40s and sort of died off in the 50s. Hammer came along in the 50s, 60s and died off in the 70s.
But it's still going.
And they remade... Well, it is. And they remade...
They just made a movie at the moment with Eddie Izzard playing
they did, indeed,
Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde.
Or Ms. Hyde or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
But yeah, they sort of remade the Universal horror movies, but in colour with very British tones. And this is where people like Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing and all the other stalwarts of the British horror film come from. And everybody knows the thick, gloopy red Hammer horror blood. And like I've said, we grew up on it. But yes, Terence Fisher. We picked one of his each, and they both happen to involve, the titles of them anyway, beasts. So, Gavin, you chose the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Yep.
From 1959. Sherlock Holmes, our first Sherlock Holmes movie.
I was going to say that. When I started reviewing it, I thought, oh, fuck, this is our first Sherlock Holmes. I'm a massive Sherlock Holmes fan, especially of... Basil Rathbone Sherlock. That's my favourite. I've got a box set of his, and every year, October, November, come up to Christmas. I don't know why it's cold. I love to chuck on those black and white Basil Rathbone because there's some like horror ones as well. You get like them after a serial killer type thing. Those ones, they're really good. They're quite atmospheric as well. They're very good.
And that one stars, of course, Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee.
Yeah, this one not. This is Peter Cushing as Holmes.
Yes. and Christopher Lee as
the manor of the house.
Sir Henry.
Yeah.
But it's a different role for Christopher Lee, which we'll talk about when we get to it. Very different from anything he's done before in some ways.
It's fantastic that they could just slip into the Peter Cushing and Sherlock Holmes, and it just looked like he is always been Sherlock Holmes.
But they could play the other way around as well because they're just so good at their jobs.
Yeah,
they
could.
So that's your selection, and my selection was from 1961, a little Spanish film set, a very drunken Oliver Reed, that is The Curse of the Werewolf, the only werewolf movie Hammer ever did.
So the two only sort of the Beast dog films they've done, so we picked them, which is random, but
it is what it is. So that's what we're covering.
I've seen the first one once. I've picked up on VHS once upon a time, and I sold it for a bit of money because it's worth a bit. But I hadn't seen it since. So Hound, and it was on Legend. It was on there, so I could just watch it from there, which is quite good streaming. I was gutted the other night, actually. I started watching the third, maybe it's Satanic Rites of Dracula. It's the third one with Pete Waterman was in it when he was younger, before mine. Yeah, that one. And I got halfway through, but I was so tired I had to go to sleep. But I was really enjoying it, actually, because I hadn't seen it since I got a videotape when I was a teenager. And we just went there, whatever. And then went back to watch it, and it had gone off Legion, so I missed it.
Taste the Blood of, is that the one?
Oh, maybe it's that one, yeah. Taste the Blood Dracula, yeah.
I'll tell you now, actually, because I've got here. Horror of Dracula was the first one. Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, is that the one from 68?
Okay, yeah, it could be that one. There was a few of them. I think I got to the point where Christopher Lee was just like turning up, going not saying a word right at the end of the movie, and going and being like, fuck this.
Well, he, in a documentary I watched recently, he joked about that. He said, I didn't feel like I could even be bothered to utter one word. So I said to the director, in this, Dracula is a mute. And he's like, the director's like, cool, we don't care, we've got Christopher Lee here, we'll just carry on. Because they do really tail off a bit, and that's part of the reason Hammer Studios kind of closed its doors for a few years, because they were, and the same with Universal, really.
The same with Marvel. It's the same thing with them. With
fatigue.
It's just too many, and then the Dracula too many. So people are like, well, you get, obviously with like the Halloweens and the Friday the 13th and those things, people kind of go towards those because of the serial killer stuff, and they want to see the gore and blood. But these ones are just like Dracula. It's like, how many Dracula films can you do? And it just got to a point when times were definitely changing. When you're going into the mid-70s, going into the 80s, we're turning into a totally different era. Like synth and stuff's coming around, a computer age and stuff. It's,
Star Wars.
Yeah, so they unfortunately, but now. I would love now them to go out on the Hammer Facebook group, and literally a person said the other day, why don't Hammer make a film now like how they used to? And I'd love to see that. I would make one myself if I could.
I really enjoyed Woman in Black, I've got to say.
No, Woman in Black was actually pretty good. Then The Resident came out, that wasn't very good. That was the last Christopher Lee Hammer performance. And there's that new one we spoke about.
And in some ways, Universal are still making horror movies, but they're not.
Well, they've got a new Wolfman coming out, haven't they?
Yeah, and it does look like some.
I'm going to wait. I'll tell you.
Is it James? What's his name? Isn't it Wan? Is that his name? Yeah.
Okay, is he directing it?
Yeah.
Well, I'll wait and see.
Into horror.
James Wan's all right. He's been doing horror a long time, so he does know horror, but at the same time,
It looks very good from the trailer, and I'm a big werewolf fan. But as we know, we're both huge werewolf fans. But there are for every good werewolf film, there is about 20 terrible werewolf films.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is with that genre. But there we go. But talking of good films, Gav, I've been to the cinema today. Let's talk about what we've been watching.
So last time, ladies and gentlemen, ghouls, non-gendered, lovely other peoples, or anyone else you are in the world.
And lycanthropes.
All of you. Black Creature of Black Lagoon, everybody. Werewolves, hounds, all sorts. Hounds on moors, all sorts. Last time, as you know, if you listened to the episode, hopefully you did, if it's your first time, welcome.
Oh God, here we go.
Welcome. Okay, let's do it again. If you're coming back, welcome back. If this is your first time, welcome front. I forgot it. Next time we're doing it at the beginning of the episode.
And if you join us now and again, welcome side.
Or anything you like. Anyway, last time, if you
Sounds like a diddy party to me.
Go to all sides. I haven't got enough lube here.
Just 100 bottles.
I need thousands. Anyway.
How many dildos you got? 584?
Stop it. My brain can't do this. It's like a train being derailed every second. Last time I said to Dan, fuck me, you've got to watch this movie. Oh, it wouldn't have been last time, maybe. It's a couple of times ago when I got back from Fright Fest. Actually, no, it probably was.
It was the last
time.
episode.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, fucking hell, time's gone by quick, even though it hasn't. The Substance. I said to Dan to watch this. I watched this film and I was like, fuck me. And I was tired. This is the end of the day of watching lots of films at a festival, and I was actually pretty tired. And I almost bailed it. I almost bailed watching this film because I was like, I don't know, I'm pretty tired. I went to watch it, and I was just like, fuck me. I think this, maybe it's me and I'm tired, but I think this might be a classic film. Then I spent about 2 or 3 days thinking about this movie and going, nah, I'm correct. I think this is a classic horror movie and people need to watch this now. So persuaded Dan to go watch it. Dan?
Yeah, so it hit cinemas this week as we record. And a friend of ours, RJ McCready, one of our friends and patrons, also popped into his cinema to see it yesterday and messaged me to say, I've got to be honest with you, mate, this might be a future cult classic, similar to what Gav had said. And I thought, I'll try and make some time. So I managed to pop along today as we record and watch it. Obviously, I'm not really going to talk about it because this is a brand new film.
But we're definitely going to cover it.
But what I'm going to say is what I put on Facebook today, which is this is definitely the best horror film this year. This might be the best horror film in about the last 25 years. That is a huge statement, and Gav agrees with me. You'd be hard pushed to find something better than this.
Yeah, I need
really.
to go back through the years and then put out all the best films and then put them next to it and go, no, Substance still good. No, Substance still good. So.
And this is also the best body horror film, which again Gav doesn't like, but he loved this movie since Society or The Fly. So we're talking 85, 86, 87, 88.
And there's been other body horror, because I know Sarah likes them, so likes Cronenberg's Son. I think
there's been some great body horror films.
I don't know because I don't really do body horror myself. But yeah, this just it works on so many levels.
The difference is this isn't a straight up body horror film. The writing is phenomenal. The performances are sublime. The effects are phenomenal. And I don't want to talk about anything about it because I would like people to just go to see it and experience it. Because everything you love about horror, this will give to you mixed into a lovely little blended milkshake from all of your favourite directors and genres, and and I think this will appeal both to our age group because of what I've just said. You're watching it thinking, that's a bit like, but not in a contrived way. It's very. I mean, Gav, you said, I'm going to quote you. You said, I do think this is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Now, how often do you say that about a movie that's just come out?
Not really, and not for something I've seen the once, because normally you need to watch it a couple of times and go, this is a masterpiece. But it's one of those films, I think, with more viewings and over time, you'd be like, wow, if this had come out in the 80s, 90s or whatever, the 80s would have been quite fine for it to come out. It could have easily come out in the 80s. It would have gone down as a masterpiece. And I tell you another thing which we're all not even mentioning, which is definitely something to mention. What horror masterpiece films do we have which are directed by a woman?
Yes, indeed.
None. This is directed by a lady.
Yeah, and it's kind of a woman's film, really.
It really is.
But it doesn't push that on you when you're watching it.
No, there's
but it's from a woman's point of view. But it's from a woman's point of view as well. And it's directed by a woman, and it stars 2 women mainly. And
it's about age, it's about beauty, it's about vanity, it's about corporate greed, it's about life choices. It's a classic.
Director Coralie Fagiat, who also directed Revenge. So this is only her second film.
I know, and it's like sometimes say Quentin Tarantino. Actually, because that's a lie. That's a lie. Quentin Tarantino's second film was Reservoir Dogs. I don't know if many people know this, and his first film was a movie which he will never let anyone see because it was so shit.
Yeah. His first official film was with dogs.
But anyway, for a second film, it makes you go, what the fuck is she going to do next?
The other thing about it is it's almost 2.5 hours long, and it really only felt like it was playing for about an hour.
How did
that happen?
I don't know. It just flows through, and the last 20 minutes is bonkers.
Absolutely. And it might seem very high score, but Gav already knows this, but I came out of that cinema feeling like it might be a 9, and by the time the credits were rolling, at the moment, that's a 10 out of 10 film for me. And that's why I say it's probably the best horror film I've seen in about a quarter of a century, Gav, which is
8 out of 10 for me. Sarah gave it 8.5. It's 8 out of 10 on IMDb.
It'll probably come down with repeated viewings. It might drop to like a 9, maybe even an 8, but it's very high up. And I had a lovely moment when it was over because only one other person came into the viewing.
It's such a shame, but at first thing in the morning, you're probably not going to go and watch that.
No, but the other guy actually clapped as the credits rolled, and he turned to me and he said, "I think we've just witnessed a modern cult classic." And I said, "I agree with you." And we ended up having a 10-minute chat where we talked about all of what our feelings and influences while we tried to process it. And then he said, "Well, it was lovely to meet you. My name's Josh."
Did you mention the podcast?
Yes, I did.
Good.
And I said I'd give him a shout out. So that's Josh.
Oh, dude.
And he said, "Well, you go and process it, and I'll go and process it." And I said, "All right, fantastic."
I spent a few days processing that movie. How nice is that though? Like, it's just you and one other person, and
we had to talk to each other
because of that. Yeah. And if it had been Underworld, Lycanthrope 52, and you went to watch that, and it was them, when credits rolled, you would have not spoken, and you just both walked out. You might have been, "That was shit." That'd been it. If
as we walked up, I look forward to Fast and Furious 26.
But this is like people. Get off your fucking arses and get down to cinema and we'll go watch this film.
Yeah, please go support this. It's not...
More movies will come out like this if people support this film.
In some way, because it was dropped by Universal because they were worried about
people's
reception. In some ways, that's a good thing.
Who picked it up?
Mubi.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Good for
them. And I'm quoting our buddy RJ here. He said he feels it's a good thing that Universal didn't, because they might have over-marketed it. And although people aren't really seeing it, that's great because people don't really know what's going on with it or what it's about.
As much as I'm saying to everybody go watch it in the cinema, and you should see it on a big screen. I know people have big screens at home. Speaking of which, Dan, I bought a new TV, but I'll get onto that. But like, I think in rentals, it's gonna go like wildfires. And people are, "Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this?" And I think rentals will probably pick up its value a bit more. But Sarah said she went on a Monday night and it was a packed cinema.
Yeah, I was an 11 a.m. today, so it didn't.
And I was at Fright Fest, which was an epically large cinema with probably like 1,000 odd people, I guess. People were laughing, clapping, like people stood up at the end, clapped. This movie got like a 10-minute standing ovation in France.
Good.
Cannes. It got best screenplay at Cannes,
It's insane. It's Demi Moore's best performance of her career, in my opinion, again. And she's a damn fine actress.
Totally naked.
She's very vulnerable. She's so vulnerable in it. But she's incredible. And you guys, when you watch this, you just wait.
Yeah, so go watch it. Wait. Anyway, we're sponsored by Mubi, and we're going to carry on now with the rest of the programme.
But yeah, The Substance. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. That's enough of that. Now, I did watch another film which is shit. It's on Netflix. Just hit UK Netflix. Baghead. I'd heard it was all right. It's shit.
Yeah.
It's not really a spoiler, but it's basically about a woman who inherits
a
property, and in the property, in the basement, there's a hole in the wall, and in the hole in the wall is a baghead creature.
A pervert.
And you give the baghead creature a piece of memorabilia from a lost deceased person. It will eat it, and then it will turn into them for 2 minutes. And it started off average, and it stayed average, and then it just got boring.
Kind of makes me feel like recently I didn't even watch it all. I started watching The Cobbler with Adam Sandler. Kind of reminds me of that. He puts on other people's shoes and he turns into them.
The Cobbler is better. Cobbler is better. Ah, shooby-doo-doo, wabbity-wabbity-woo.
I've been watching a few Adam Sandlers in the background while I just
love
going,
Adam
what's
Sandler.
this? I said, this is Happy Gilmore. You know.
He's one of the sequels coming out. Happy Gilmore 2.
I can't wait.
Netflix. But yeah, avoid Baghead. Not good.
I watched The Matrix the other day. I'm moving house soon, and I've got just not many more. I've packed all my movies away, but I've got a few in front of the DVD players. I want to watch these before I go because they've been sitting there for fucking like 2 years. I watched these fucking films. One of them was The Matrix. I saw it when it first came out.
Yes.
Check that out, and I was like, well, I do like the old AI simulation thing. So now it feels a bit more. It's kind of like they were a bit ahead of their game a little bit with this film.
They were. Yeah, it's very obviously it's groundbreaking cinema
At the time, yeah.
because of the invention of the James Cameron way.
Fu.
Yeah, but also like the cameras, the bullet time cameras that were invented specifically for that film.
It's funny
Will
now.
Smith turned that film down. Will Smith, they went to him and they said, "We've got this thing we're going to do. We're going to put cameras all in a circle around you, and you're going to be Neo." And he was like, "Come on." And did his laugh and said, "I'm not doing that. It sounds rubbish." And when he saw it, he was like, "What?"
Yeah, I'm glad Slappy Smith wanted it because I just don't think he was. I think Keanu does it really well. Actually, plays it down quite well. I actually quite enjoyed the film. It's alright. It's funny though watching that gung fu stuff with the camera in slow mo. Now you like see so much CGI and there's so much AI stuff nowadays. You can do anything, so it doesn't feel as exciting anymore. Unfortunately.
But that's why the second and third one was so jarring to me, because the first one was all practical wires, and the second and third one was so much CGI, it just looked like a video game. So I really only stick to the first one.
And third one.
Yeah, the first one is the best one. And 1999, in my opinion, is still the best year for cinema in probably my lifetime.
Okay.
Good stuff coming out that year.
I don't know. I think isn't 84 like the best year?
Yeah, they're good. But 99 was great, groundbreaking stuff going on in 99. It wasn't that long ago.
No,
Was it 5 years
I
ago?
don't remember. I was not knowledgeable rather than remembrance. Imagine like being in the 70s, like watching cinema when it wasn't CGI. So when you saw a car crash, it's probably someone almost dying when they actually did it. But like every time you saw something bigger, say the Sorcerer, and you saw the truck in the cinema and the bridge, it would have been so like emotionally like, oh my god, because you're like, that's probably like some strings on a bridge or anything. It wasn't CGI. They didn't even think about that. The computers weren't doing things then. But imagine that though, like the power of cinema at that point. But now it's kind of been lost because we can do anything.
Well, the reason I say that about 1999 is just because it felt like all the films that came out, really, this is back when I used to read Empire magazine and go to the cinema probably twice a week. All the films that came out were changing the face of cinema. So let me just reel off a couple from that year. Fight Club, The Matrix, American Beauty, The Green Mile, Eyes Wide Shut, The Sixth Sense, Being John Malkovich, Magnolia, Girl Interrupted, and then you've got like South Park the movie. You know, that was a big one that came out as well. American Pie, The Blair Witch Project.
The list you just said there, man, all revolutionary. There's a couple of them alright, but I watched Thingy recent, not that long ago. Eyes Wide Shut. That was shit. That spent 2.5 years being shot.
What I mean is, like, that was Kubrick's last movie. And then you had like The Matrix, which changed action cinema. Fight Club, which was just like visually something you'd never seen. The Blair Witch Project, which kind of reinvented horror, really. Yeah. There's a lot that year which was just crazy. American Pie. I mean, we'd never seen such rude stuff since, what was it called, Porky's and all those movies. Austin Powers, Deep Blue Sea, that classic. Anyway, it's enough about 1999.
I'm out in the woods tomorrow night filming the finale of a found footage film.
Oh, fantastic. You've segued so perfectly there. Because I've got some woods to talk about. But you talk about your woods first.
Nothing really. I just could go out and we're finishing shooting Amanda. You know this because you're on the WhatsApp group, so I know you can see the messages. Just organise it. And feel free to come down tomorrow evening.
Thanks, I'll try.
But yeah, it's quite nice to go and get that film finished. Then I've only got a couple more scenes to shoot, and yeah, I started colour grading it the other day, and I was like, fuck me, that actually looks really nice because it's a regular camera, it's nothing fancy. So hopefully in the next couple of months we'll have a new feature film finished,
Which I cannot wait to see.
And then I can start writing the next one, which we've already got fucking planned already. With SWAT guns and things. You've seen the guns and the ammos and everything's been bought. Yeah, so we've got all the shit, which is not a script. I need to start writing it.
Got all the shit. Don't have a script.
Yeah.
Now, talking of woods and colour grading, I went back to the woods, back to 2004, because we recently covered Shyamalan, and I've been meaning to watch it. So I watched The Village, and I love that film. I
was going to watch it again, actually, at some point.
It's on Disney Plus. All of his films are, funny enough. So yeah, really loved that one. Forgot about the incredible cast: Sigourney Weaver, William Hurt, obviously Joaquin's in it again. What's his name? Adrian Brody. And yeah, the colour saturation on that is fantastic with the reds and the yellows to make it feel like it is, a period piece. And it held up really, really well. And forgot it was quite scary at times as well, but although I know what the creatures are. So that's one of the two Woods films that I watched. The other one I watched was a brand new film, Gav, from 2024. This year, that is.
Okay.
In a Violent Nature.
Oh, I will watch it. I'm not rushing to see it, but we'll watch it.
So I gave it 7 out of 10.
Well, that's quite high.
Which is high, but I was still a little disappointed with it. I wanted more from it but the problem is that we are both huge Friday the 13th fans, and for years we have fantasized about what it would be like to watch Jason, behind the scenes. Where does he go? What does he do? What does he eat? Where does he sleep?
But I've never wanted to watch as a feature. Maybe for a short film for like 2 minutes long for a skit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What I will say about it is, it's got some of the best, goriest death scenes I've probably ever seen.
Effects artist first, turned director.
There's two in particular, and my wife, I feel sorry for her. She came in about halfway through and sat down. There was one death that she witnessed, and she couldn't take her eyes. I said, "Don't look at this bit. Don't look at it." But it's too late. She was watching the whole thing. She was like, "Why is he doing it? Why isn't he stopping?"
You have to show the substance.
And I was like, well, she'd like that.
Yeah,
I was thinking she really like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's very gory. I don't care about the slowness of In a Violent Nature because I expect to watch a man trudging along. It's basically a Friday the 13th movie. And I did say to you, didn't I, off air, I said, if they'd have just made it like a POV Jason movie, actually would have given it more sort of clout. But it's still worth a watch, and it's on Shudder and it's on, Prime and stuff. So if you've got access to that, In a Violent Nature, it's definitely good. Just get ready for the gore when it comes. It is insane, and it's mainly practical.
The director has got a second one lined up in his head.
As a sequel?
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. Yeah, it's good. It's weird to give a film 7 out of 10, but not really saying that.
Yeah, well, yeah. That sounds weird, but yeah.
It's because I wanted more, and that's where I was going with that. Because I'm a...
Yeah, but you can't give it this. You can't give it a higher score because you wanted it to have that.
I know.
Give it a 5.
I just wanted it to be really, really like a 10, but thank God I saw The Substance today. That's the main thing. Now, Gav, you've got something to talk about with John Carpenter.
Well, this might...
Can you explain, please?
Tom sent on the Deadbolt Pay group earlier, he just sent a thing saying, John Carpenter's opened up an account on Letterboxd and reviewing his films. And I was like, I don't think he is. But then I looked
so
at him
all of
and
you
I was
Letterboxd users out there...
Oh, by
John
the way,
Carpenter.
I did join up. I didn't understand it in the slightest, and I've not been on since. I couldn't understand what I do or how I look at anything. It's really, I just didn't understand it. So I was like, nah, IMDb, it's so much easier. You just type the name in and look at it. I don't know how I look up anything. I don't know.
Fair enough.
So I haven't been on since. Deleted the app. Sorry. I know I said I was going to do it. Yeah, so John Carpenter came on this thing, but I know these are not true. This is not John Carpenter. But I'm going to play a game. I've only got 4 of them which were sent to me. And we're going to play a game. Is this John Carpenter or is this not? And Dan's going to play along. And I actually already know it's not going to be. Dark Star, half score. Embarrassing. I had not a single clue what I was doing. It's funny to think I thought a limousine would pick me up and take me off to my first studio set after the world saw this movie. That never happened. I almost gave up and moved back home to Kentucky, but I refused to let the world kick me down, kinda. People tell me they really like this one, and I tell them they're crazy. Hopefully your feature debut will be better than this. Won't be hard.
So is it out of 5 on Letterboxd?
Yes.
So he gives it his own film,
I think
0.5. To be fair, Dark Star is one of the weaker, and a lot of people love it, but I don't agree.
I've never seen it.
But
he made it at college, though,
I think that's real. I think that because what I love about that there is...
because John Carpenter is a bit of a grumpy bastard nowadays.
What I love about that there is whoever's written that must be John Carpenter, because it's almost like a little bit of a mini autobiography.
Well, okay, Halloween 2.
So am I right? Was that him?
Well, no, I don't think it is him. We don't know.
Oh, okay.
We will never know.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
Halloween 2, 1 star. They paid me more money than I had ever seen to write a sequel to a film that did not need one. I took the check, spent it on beers to get me drunk enough to plough through this crap. I looked at the final script, which I like Halloween 2 myself. I looked at the final script, which took a whopping 2 days to write, and said, wow, now that's a piece of shit. And it was. I had faith in Rick Rosenthal, and he did not deliver. I suppose I expected him to be a miracle worker, and nobody could have made this work. I don't regret hiring him.
Now, very quick tangent. I said recently that these days I prefer watching Halloween 2 to Halloween 1, just because I've seen Halloween 1 to death, and I like to watch the sequel more than the first one lately.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that's him saying that. I don't think even he's that grumpy. I don't think so. I don't think he'd say, I bought enough beers to power through this shit. I don't think he'd say that.
No. Memoirs of an Invisible Man, half a score. I fucking hate this part of shit and want every copy burnt. Tom would like that, I could see. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers.
Oh, God.
No stars, it seems. I think this is one of the better sequels. I prefer it to the second one, that's for sure. Dwight Little did a good job. I've not seen it in a long time. Is this the one where Myers picks up a rifle and stabs someone through the stomach instead of shooting it? Now that's funny.
God.
So I don't know. Speaking of Michael Myers, it's another little segue. So what do you reckon? I'm going to say no.
I'm gonna the first one, the very first one, made me think that it could be John Carpenter, but the others are so grumpy that I don't think even he's that grumpy, really. I think it's a bit of an act. He's in real life, he's quite a sweetie.
Yeah, well, he's a bit grumpy nowadays, but he does like payday. So I was where was I working? Oh, I was working in a chemist. I was doing some stuff, and the manager was there, and she's chatting to someone else, saying, and they came in the other day, and they're just taking photographs and stuff. And when I challenged them, said, "Who are you? What are you doing?" They said they were Mike Myers. And I was like, who? Mike Myers? Who's? And I was just listening to this going, what? Was this someone just like having a laugh saying, I'm Michael Myers? When they said, what's your name? Oh, I'm Michael Myers. Or what? It's a bit weird. But
unless it was Mike Myers, the Canadian. Yeah.
That's that joke in Baby Driver, isn't it?
Yeah.
I said Michael Myers masks. And it's Mike Myers.
That's very good.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
I guess the takeaway there is go watch The Substance now.
Pretty much.
Now, listen, Terence Fisher, before we take our break and go into our first trailer, we're just going to have a quick chat about Terence Fisher, the director, the man, the legend, MC Hammer, as I like to call him.
I heard it the other day. MC Hammer was the most feared person in the rap industry.
Indeed, yeah.
That's money, though, again.
But that was until P. Diddy came along.
Ooh, P. Diddy came along with all his bottles of lube and went, slip out of here, man.
MC Hammer didn't need the lube. But no, MC Hammer was so well connected because where he's from in Oakland, that was quite a high quantity of gangs there, and he was connected to a lot of the gangs. He actually brought a lot of the gangs together. He's a bit like a Robin Hood. But so although people don't really dig his rapping,
No.
because he's not the best rapper, but I was
No.
a big fan of MC Hammer. But because he was a performer, a dancer, rapper, and all of that, people were like, we just love him because he brings all the gangs together. He had a bit of religion in there because he was a bit of a gospel rapper as well. And then he got signed to Death Row Records.
Did he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Did he? I like what you did there.
I didn't even mean to do that.
Yeah, no, he got signed to Death Row Records right at the end. And there's like pictures of him, Snoop, Tupac, and Dre, and Suge Knight.
I also heard Dr. Dre had a videotape stolen from his house, from his private collection once upon a time.
Yeah.
And I was listening to something earlier, and he's on a radio show, and they're saying, "Tell us all about it." He says, "I had a tape stolen from my private collection," and they said, "Oh, is it like the Pamela Anderson type thing?" He said, "No, a lot, way worse." And everyone went,
God.
Everyone's kind of laughing. Said, "Snoop, you're on it," and Snoop's like, "What the fuck?"
Oh, God.
And he says, "I hope that never gets shown." So somewhere out there's a tape. Someone's going to one day say, "Give me some money." I'm sure they would have done by now because he's got a lot of money.
There's a lot of tapes out there, and I don't know if I really want to know about too many of them.
I don't want to see Dr. J's balls going up and down.
A lot of my heroes are getting destroyed.
I don't
sadly.
ever want to see any musical artist that I really likes naked having sex. It's just not what I want to see. Let's hear them rap, you know.
Yeah, I want to see you rap. I don't want to see you sack.
Do that stuff. It's not what I signed up for. Well, that's what they probably thought when they signed up for Bad Boy Records. This is not what I signed up for. Do you know? Well, I know we're not going to get onto it, but very
Poor
quickly.
Terrence is waiting in the wings.
I know. Very quickly, do you know P. Diddy, with one of the women, he told her that she would have
This
an
is all
album.
alleged, by the way.
Yeah. It said she would have an album, and he had producers work on an album which would never, ever be seen. And he knew that. No one would ever know the album. But it's just to keep control of her, so that person would know that they were, oh, okay, he's actually doing what... I'll keep doing what he says, because this album's being recorded. With the intention it never be released. What a cunt!
Yeah, it's power.
What a cunt!
Not a nice guy.
He deserves to fucking go down. I'm glad he is. I'm glad he's sitting in the cell now going, I don't like this food.
Well, he always called himself Bad Boy, and I think he probably was.
Such ego. Anyway, let's not do this.
Let's talk about Terrence. Terrence Fisher. Talking of Hammer, that we segued briefly there onto P. Diddy, but we're back. We're back to Terrence. Terrence Fisher, born in 1904. And he died sadly in 1980. But obviously, best known for he was a director best known for working in Hammer Studios, which is why we're covering 2 Hammer horror films today. He's the first person to do gothic horror in full colour. People often say that he's the reason, the first person to do that. And he's also the first person to bring in sexual overtones and gallons of bright red blood. So Hammer really wasn't really Hammer until Terrence brought in cleavage and thick splashed blood everywhere.
Good man.
Yeah, and again, these Universal movies were fantastic in black and white, but he decided he would remake them all in bright British colour and give them that British spin as well, and really utilise
staple actors with the Hammer Studios. The amount of people. You go, oh, that's the bartender from the Gorgon, or what the fuck,
Yeah. Well, often the Hammer films were filmed, as we know, back to back, using the same sets and stuff. So he was 16 when he left school, and he joined the Navy for 5 years. And then he decided he wanted to get into the film industry. So in 1933, he joined, you've probably heard of Lime Grove Studios, as a clapper boy. Just a little clapper boy, clapping away. And he then worked his way up to editor throughout the very early 30s until he became a director in the mid to late 40s. And Hammer decided they wanted him for their first Hammer film that they picked him for was The Curse of Frankenstein from 1957. So he'd done quite a few TV bits and bobs, a lot of editing. He did The Adventures of Robin Hood on TV in the 50s as well in Britain. But yeah, Curse of Frankenstein was his first one, 1957.
You get it now anyway, because for necessity and budgetary reasons, especially with like indie cinema, directors who are editors. But if you get someone who's worked their way up, and if they've worked in editing and then gone on to directing, when you're directing, it helps you to know, oh, okay, we can edit here, we can edit there. Even if you're not editing, you can discuss that with your editor that's been hired to edit the film. But you know that's going to cut with that, that's going to cut with that, that's going to cut with that.
And ultimately save perhaps a bit of money and time.
Yeah,
you know
do.
what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And nowadays, directors do it because they can't afford to. I do it myself because I just love editing more than directing. I like editing. But yeah, so it definitely helps a director and their craft.
So he was handpicked by, agreed totally, and he was handpicked by Hammer for this project because he had such an amazing reputation in the film and TV industry for reliability and, like you just said, saving time, saving money and getting the job done, but doing a quality work as well, quality job as well. And it was a really, really important project because it was obviously a Frankenstein movie, and they had Christopher Lee and they had Peter Cushing in it. And is this going to work? Well, it was the most financially successful Hammer project at that point. So they got him back immediately and said, we need you to do another one with us. Will you please do Dracula a year later? So he did Dracula in 1958. It made even more money.
Actually, I started watching that the other night. Fantastic movie.
Yeah, and that made even more money, and it got back Cushing again and Lee.
I've seen it many times before.
They were getting more money from their producers then, so to have bigger budgets each time. He then stuck to horror. He decided horror is where I like to work. The only one time he kind of veered away from it slightly was Hound of the Baskervilles, which we're going to be talking about on this episode, but that's still got some spooky horror vibes to it.
It's in my horror collection.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's the only Sherlock Holmes movie that is, or only Sherlock Holmes story or book that is slightly, although it's revealed to, it's a bit of a Scooby-Doo.
As a kid, I just always loved the Hound of the Baskervilles, a big dog.
Yeah.
It's on the misty moors.
Obviously, it's revealed that it's not supernatural, but the Sherlock Holmes story is kind of told in that it perhaps is. Even Holmes questions it during the story. So yeah, Hound of the Baskervilles. He then went on to do The Mummy. Again with Cushing and Lee. He'd worked so comfortably with them and they already liked each other. And then he went on to do lots of sequels, Revenge of Frankenstein, a few movies that moved away from the sort of the Universal, and I use that in quotation marks, monsters type things. He came back and did a few sequels here and there, and it was starting to wear a bit thin on him. He had a couple of car crashes where he had to take quite a long break from doing any work. I think he had 2 car crashes in 2 years, and by the time he'd recovered from them both, the industry had moved on a bit, and he tried to get back into it. Yeah, he did come back and do Curse of the Werewolf in 1961, and that was then he did the Phantom of the Opera in 1962, which was their most expensive film to date, and actually didn't really make much money.
I'd never seen it, and I never realised Hammer did Phantom of the Opera.
Well, he didn't work for Hammer for 2 years after that one because it didn't really make much money. He then went and worked with other studios for a little bit, and it wasn't until he did Night of the Big Heat, which you've seen and I've seen. We love that one. Hammer then said to him, come back and make this film called The Devil Rides Out. Yeah. And that's what tempted him back in 1968. So he said, you know what? Great. And what a film that is. What a film that is. And then he did Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. And then he did Frankenstein the Monster from Hell, which was an absolute financial bomb. And that was kind of what killed Hammer, really. Hammer Horror didn't really recover much after that, and his career didn't really cover much after that. And 6 years later, so he retired a couple of years after that, and then 6 years later, he died at the age of 76 in 1980. But the gist of this really is he was sought out by Hammer, who wanted to change the face of British film and horror, and he sure as hell made a damn dent in it with an incredible career, which we'll briefly run through in a moment. I've already mentioned a few of his movies, but the guy is really Hammer. He's the guy. He's like you said, he's the James Whale of Hammer, really, isn't he?
Universal.
Yeah, no, he's the James Whale of Hammer. Yeah, he really is. So we'll run through his monster movies. I'll give our quick opinions on them or what we think of them if there's anything to say, and then we'll talk about Hound of the Baskervilles. So, Curse of Frankenstein was his first one, which is really just Frankenstein. It's not a sequel, and that was Christopher Lee, which is a bit weird to see him as Frankenstein. It's a very different look. They weren't allowed to use the same makeup effects or sort of style as the Universal Frankenstein. It's an all right film. Obviously, Hound of the Baskervilles 59. He also did The Mummy in 59. So he's a busy man, as it was back then. These British film studios were churning them out. As you said, though, Gav, that's because we know they were using the same stable of actors, same studios and sets, just churning them out. It's very, very, all very efficient, wasn't it? It was like a 9-to-5 job. The same year as The Mummy and Hound of the Baskervilles, he also did The Man Who Could Cheat Death and The Strangers of Bombay. So 1, 2, 3, 4 movies in 1 year.
Wow.
3 films in 1960, Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll, The Bride of Dracula, and The Sword of Sherwood Forest. And then in 61, just the one movie, The Curse of the Werewolf, which we're covering. 62, he did Phantom of the Opera, Sherlock Holmes and the Deadly Necklace. 63, The Horror of It All. One of my favourites was 64, The Gorgon. 66, one of your childhood stresses was
Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, which made you feel a bit queasy when they cut the throat and hang
Turn it
upside
off, I can't watch it, Mum.
Also, Island of Terror that year. 67, he did Night of the Big Heat, which I'm a really big fan of. But for Hammer, he did Frankenstein Created Woman, The Devil Rides Out, and then 69 was Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. Then he had those 2 accidents, came back and made Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, which I believe starred what's his name, Darth Vader. Why can't I remember his name? The guy from Bristol who played Darth Vader, him as Frankenstein. So that was him. So a hell of a career. Pretty much all of their main, he's done a werewolf movie, he's done a Gorgon movie, he's done Frankenstein movies, Dracula movies, he's done all of them really, and even a couple of Sherlock Holmes in there, some Robin Hood. Fantastic career. And thing about these older directors is, and it'd be the same with James Whale, there's not an awful lot written down about them because it's not like they had social media or anything back then. It was just like, this is when for him it was literally did a damn good job.
All right.
Cool. So let's get into a trailer for the Hound of the Baskervilles, and we'll get chatting about that.
Know then the legend of the Hound of the Baskervilles. Take heed, and beware the moor in those dark hours when evil is exalted, else you will surely meet the Hound of Hell, the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Which way? For heaven's sake, which way?
The greatest story ever written by one of the world's greatest storytellers, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's classic masterpiece of mystery, suspense, and horror, The Hound of the Baskervilles.
Some revolting sacrificial rite has been performed. What depths a human being can sink to.
What human being could have done this?
That is precisely what I intend to find out.
But how can you be so certain that somebody took one of the bishop's spiders and deliberately placed it in Sir Henry's room? That it wasn't in the luggage he brought from South Africa?
Elementary, my dear Watson. There are no tarantulas in South Africa.
What do you want me to do?
Identify anything I may find. Strange things are to be found on the moor. Like this, for instance.
Why? You thought it was going to be easy, didn't you?
Didn't you? You won't be the first of your family who thought that. And you won't be the first to die because of it.
The Hound of the Baskervilles from 1959. I'm not going to bother with that. PG, hour and 27 minutes. When a nobleman is threatened by a family curse on his newly inherited estate, Detective Sherlock Holmes is hired to investigate. What goings on will happen in the moors? Great film.
Yeah, it's a good Hammer. It's the only one that Hammer did of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's works, and it's a good one because, like we said earlier, it's a spooky one. It's set on the moors. It's very sort of hammery, the setting and the big manor house out in the middle of nowhere, and a potential curse. Like I said, it's a bit of a Scooby-Doo vibe as well because there's we find out that it's not really a curse. It's someone pretending to scare people like, oh, these pesky kids, that kind of whole thing. But it's good, and it's very classy, very nice, and I enjoy it. It's a good rainy afternoon film.
Yeah, I'll happily put this film on. I did actually just check out when I was just getting a trailer from YouTube. The actual whole film is on YouTube. If anyone fancies it. It's not going to be like some crazy high definition, but I've got a Blu-ray copy, which is fantastic.
I watched it on YouTube, and it was in very good condition, very good definition. A lot of these films are now, because they're so old, 59 now. But yeah, it's only an hour and 27, so it's not going to eat into your day as well. If you want to check it out, it comes and it goes, and it does the job. Most
people know the story as well. Someone comes up to Holmes and says, there's been I think there's a curse and blah blah blah, and Sherlock says, okay, send Watson. Watson goes down, and Sherlock comes down a little bit later on it, but keeps an eye on things.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and there's a escaped prisoner, etc. We'll get into it. Let's do it.
Let's do it then.
So
Great.
I love this is the thing with these Hammer movies. It starts up by a bunch of cunts. A real bunch of, I've got all the money in the world, private boy cunt types. Really, just not saying that if you go to private school, you're a cunt. But, these are really, entitled group in a pub. And the first thing to do is they just throw someone out the window and they're laughing, like it's just the average thing you see down the pub.
Right, I see where you're going with that now. I thought you were talking about the producers, the credits. I was thinking,
no, in the movie itself. And we get this group of guys in the pub, just really horrible. And one guy's just, happens to be a Baskerville, really horrible, entitled, I've got money. Funny, we see this in the news daily, all these entitled people who've got money who are cunts. And this is what's going on, and he's so horrible, isn't he, to this one? He's horrible to his dad, and he's actually got the dad's daughter tied up in locked up in a room upstairs to go and do whatever they want with, and the dad's come in and says, please, my daughter, and they've thrown him out. They're just giving him shit. It's like, what?
Indeed. I mean, it's a hell of a way to start a Sherlock Holmes story, but it is what happens. But we get, just before that, we get the classic Hammer spooky credits and score and a voice. That's okay. And we get the voiceover introducing us to, this is Baskerville Manor, and this is the established Lord Baskerville. And basically, like Gav's just said, they're a bunch of frat boys. They're like a frat fraternity, and they're having drinking games, and they throw that guy out the window, this one guy whose daughter was upstairs, and they says, go outside and drag him back in, the filthy pig, and we'll roast him by the fire like the pig he is. So they sort of put him by the fire and sort of try and burn him by the fire, and he says, my daughter, like you said, and upstairs there's this busty chick that they're basically betting on, and they're like, well, I'm not going to bet you money, I'll bet you what I've got upstairs. And they're like, oh, you mean the girl? All right, then great. Let's bet on, and she can be the prize when there's. So they're just doing these horrible frat boy games. And it's just not very nice using a woman as a prize, or a human being of any kind as a prize. But
no, not really.
But Sir Hugo, who is the main Baskerville.
I do love the classic, very quickly, the classic horror colours of the green and red in their felt jackets.
Yeah, it's
just really nice just looking.
Hammer have I was going to say that. They've got a colour palette, and it is what it is. It's like reading a comic book come to life, a comic book from a long time ago as well. So Sir Hugo goes to fetch the girl, the prize, and he goes up there and the window's open and he turns and says, "The bitch has got away." So what does he do, Gav? He does a Smithers, doesn't he?
Oh,
not a Smithers.
Burns. Let's send a pack of hounds on them.
Set the hounds on her.
What? Because the lady who doesn't want to be with you,
she doesn't want to be gang raped.
You've locked upstairs, doesn't want to be with you, and you've abused her father, who's an old man. Just because she's managed to get away, you're going to kill her.
Yep. He says, "Mount up. Let loose the pack on her. By Jove, we're all going on a hunt." And actually, the rest of the frat party all sort of back out at this point, and they realise
it's okay. He gets his comeuppance.
We're not going to go with you. And he goes, "Well, by Jove, I'll get her if it's the last thing I'll do." And he goes off. And as he sets off,
he goes off like he's fox hunting.
We get that classic Hammer weather coming, then, don't we? Thunder and lightning and rain.
An epic action score.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So she's running across the moors barefoot,
to a
cleavage, bouncing around.
Rock area. She sort of comes to, doesn't he? He finds her.
He's got his dogs with her.
He stabs her. Do you know why he stabs her? Because he couldn't rape her.
Well, hang on. Before that.
Well,
God. So he loses her. Even though the dogs, he can't find her, and the dogs are trying to find her, and then the dogs get scared because they hear a big... Very good, Gavin, very good. They hear a big howl like that, and it's a terrifying howl. In any other movie you'd think it's a werewolf. It's kind of, if you didn't know the story, you'd probably think it was.
I was the other night standing in the woods when it got dark with night vision goggles on, just by myself.
Brilliant. Dogging.
No. Funny enough, a person walked past me in the path and it's getting dark because they're obviously going back to the car, and I just stood still and I was like, they can't see me.
Oh my God. Silence of the Lambs.
It was I didn't silence the lambs, anyone, because I was testing these goggles out. Anyway, and there was a sound in there, and I was like, "Oh, is that a deer?" I don't know, because I was completely still and it's dark. But I could see. But just whenever you hear a sound out like, so if you're out at moors or something and you hear that howl.
Oh yeah.
Shit, that's like American Werewolf in London. It's that. Yeah. Basically, they've done the Hound of Baskervilles and the beginning of American Werewolf in London. It's the same principle. It's just like, shit, that doesn't sound good.
And what's great as well is that the hounds that he's got with him, there's probably 100 of them. They all run off and whimper. So the dogs are scared of whatever this is. Excuse me. And then the horse gets scared too and doesn't really want to go forward anymore. And we get a great close up here of the girl hiding behind like a pillar of like a little bridge over a little brook, right up close to the camera, and then blurred in the background you can just make out Sir Hugo getting off of just slightly out of focus, getting off the horse, and he's trying to find her. He grabs her and he calls her a witch. "You damn witch, you escaped from me." And like you said, because he can't rape her, he pulls out a curved dagger to stab her.
And the connection of that, though, obviously he couldn't rape her with his penis, cause trauma with his penis, so he causes trauma with a knife, which is the same motion.
But before he can
quite
stab
interesting in a horrible way.
Well, before he can stab her, another howl, which sort of stops him in his tracks. This time we also hear some growling as well, and then he thank you, and then he turns around and we
I feel like I'm doing a radio play.
We get the sort of POV of whatever this hound is approaching him, and he goes, "Dear God, no! No, dear God, no!" And then it kills him.
We don't see, which is exactly how you should play that.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And that is your opening, really.
My note says, "Cunt gets it." Yep.
He does. Yeah, he does indeed. So cut to
this Zach story being told to Sherlock Holmes in Baker Street.
Dr. Mortimer is here,
telling the story to Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, and he says, and that was the curse of Sir Hugo and the Hound from Hell. It's like he's just finished a bedtime story. It's so
love
funny.
the way it's done, though.
And when he says, obviously saying that, Holmes is like, dear God, man.
I don't know if you could read that as a bedtime story. So then the lady who was going to be gang raped by the men escapes, and he sends a pack of hounds. Daddy, is this
to tear her apart?
It's not real. It's through a book and a movie. It's not a good bedtime.
Well, he's reading the legend to Holmes, and Holmes stops him in his tracks. And obviously, Holmes is the most logical man since Dr. Spock. He just says, stop there. This is just a folk story. Why are you telling me this? I'll tell you why. And he says, I'll tell you why you're telling me this. Because something happened on Friday the 13th. And the guy's like, how the hell do you know all of this? And he's like,
segue very, very quickly to a film which got pan and dissed, and I really like it and find it very funny, which is Holmes and Watson.
Don't think I've seen it. Oh, is that the one with Will Ferrell?
Yeah. Sherlock Holmes. Have you seen it?
Hated it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, most people hate it. I really, really like it. I find it fucking hilarious when he's in the carriageway and Watson is like, okay, let's play a game, and does a game to him, and he gets right, because he's Holmes, goes right to the end of the game, says, because of that reason, he goes, what? And he beats him before they can even do the game, because he's gone ahead, done the whole game sort of thing. It's just a lot of funny things in it. I really like that movie, actually.
Maybe I'll revisit it sometime.
I watch it fairly. It's kind of like my Chips. I don't think people really like that.
I like Chips.
Okay, Chips. But if I sit on Netflix and I'm cooking a Sunday roast or something for the kids or something, I've got my headphones on and I'm cooking. I'm watching fucking Holmes and Watson put on. I'm laughing away at it. I find it really funny. Anyway, segue.
Well, Holmes is figuring out that something happened on Friday the 13th. From a little sleepy place in Devon, and this Dr. Mortimer's like, how on earth have you worked this out? And he says, he says, because the paper like you're AI, reading,
isn't he?
He says, because the paper you're reading, I can see where it is printed, and I can also tell you about that paper that they only print that paper on a whatever day of the week. So therefore, the event that you're telling me about happened on a Friday the 13th. Da, 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 da. So why don't you cut to the chase and tell us actually why you're here?
No wonder he wrote into that Holmes was opium. Like, he had to have something to relieve that mind, otherwise you'd go crazy.
Yeah.
Imagine about being like Elon Musk. It's like, I just want to go to sleep.
Just going.
You know.
So he says, look, just tell us why you're here. Give me the facts. And he says, all right, I'm here because of the death of Sir Charles Baskerville 2 weeks ago on the moors. He says, all right, well, how did he die? He said he died of a heart failure, but the look of horror on his face is very strange.
Want plain facts, Mortimer. Plain facts.
Yeah, he doesn't want any of this nonsense. He just wants the plain facts.
You just want the A to B, not the fucking A to Z to B.
He says to him, now the thing is, this guy was pretty loaded, and he's got a nephew who's coming in from South Africa, Christopher Lee, called Sir Henry, and he's going to be inheriting this. It's £1 million, isn't it? Everything's worth. And he said, I'm a bit worried he might be next, so I need you to investigate this, please. You know what's happened. I got a feeling someone knocked him off. He says, well, what makes you think that? And he says, because there were strange footprints around his body, almost like someone was tiptoeing around.
And he introduces that it's not tiptoeing, it's running.
Running.
Same motion, isn't it? Feet.
I suppose it is, yeah. And Holmes then says, well, look, I want to ask you a question. Do you really believe in dark forces? And Dr. Mortimer, so this is our little horror element now.
So good as Holmes.
He's great, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because he's a bit cunty as well. Because Holmes is always a little bit. No, Holmes is always a little bit.
Snidey.
Yeah,
it's not cunty.
Yeah, but sometimes it can be. There's one scene in this later
slightly
where
patronising, but he only does that because he's sometimes when he's a cunt, it's on purpose. He's doing it. It's a false cunt. It's not actually him being a cunt. He's doing it for a reason to find something else out later on. He does it in this, yes, which you're going to say.
He does it later on, very rudely later, and then I realised why he was doing it.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, he accepts the case. I love it. He turns to Watson. He says, this is a 2-pipe case, Watson. I need more tobacco, more opium.
Yeah. I totally got that, though. 2-pipe case. Yeah, just sit that there. There's enough smoke just to go, it's about 20 minutes to think.
Brilliant.
You know, yeah.
So he he sends Watson, doesn't he? He says to Watson, "You're going to have to go on your own here." Oh, actually, no. They go to the hotel first.
He says to him, "You're not doing anything, are you, Watson?" No. Okay, well, why don't you go down there and I'll join you in a week.
Well, actually, before that, they do go to meet Sir Henry at the hotel, don't they?
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so I got it wrong too. It's fine. There's quite a classic case of mistaken identity here, where they turn up at Christopher Lee, who plays Sir Henry, at his hotel room, and he just, as soon as he sees him, he goes, "Good God, what's taking you so long to get here? I've lost one of my boots. Everything's crap about this hotel. You're supposed to be a manager." He hasn't even said, "Who are you?" And he doesn't know he's speaking to Holmes and Watson.
And he thinks it's the hotel manager because he's lost a boot. So anything goes like that in a murder mystery type thing. If something happens and it's slightly signalled, you're like, wonder if that's
you've lost a boot.
Play.
Okay. And then Dr. Mortimer arrives, and he's like, "Do you know who these two are? They're not the hotel owners. They're Holmes and Watson." He's like, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry."
I might have to just watch this film once we finish recording again, because I do quite like this. Just chuck it.
It's good, isn't it? It's good. So they do formal introductions. And then they really chat about who he is. He's come in from Johannesburg, South Africa. That's where he lived. And he intends to move into this huge mansion on the moors. They ask him very, specific questions, and they're a bit embarrassed. He's like, "How much is it worth? Just tell me. I don't care. I just need to know." £1 million. Great. Now, obviously, that's a lot of money back then. It's a lot of money now. And then he says, "And how much, what about you, Dr. Mortimer?" And he's like, "Well, he left me £14,000. And he's like, "Okay, good."
I think it was like...
It's 40, actually,
I think it's
wasn't it?
40,000, which actually is a ridiculously huge amount of money. And you're thinking, because he says to Mortimer, "Well, I don't need to know how much I got." "Well, I do, because it's important for the case." "Well, 40,000, if you must know." And it's just like, whoa.
He says, "Well, I was his best friend after all." Like, all right.
That's a law, isn't it?
And then he says to Sir Henry, Christopher Lee, he says to him, "You're the last in line, and I think your life may be in danger." And Christopher Lee's like, "Do you know what? I don't care. I've just inherited £1 million worth of mansion on the moors, and I am moving on in, baby."
Yeah, it's one of those things, though, when if this was okay, you're by yourself, though. I know you've got Alice and the kids, but if you were by yourself, if that all of a sudden came up, you could go and live in this big mansion by yourself, there wasn't Wi-Fi, we've got to remember, back in the day, You could go out there and just be like, "This is a bit shit, isn't it?"
No, I'd love it. Bit of peace.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bit of peace.
I'd probably
imagine the library you've got there. You've probably got a library full of books.
To be fair, it wouldn't bother me not being around people too much.
I'd love it. Well, Holmes says, "Look, here's the deal, Christopher Lee. I'm too busy right now for the next week.
I'm well busy.
But I'm going to send my colleague, Dr. Watson,
my sexy colleague here is going to come down.
Sexy Watson is going to go with you
down and get
on the train.
Yeah.
It's not a Puff Daddy party.
But something happens before.
Well, before something happens, he says to him something which you'll hear in American Werewolf in London. He says to him, "But when you get to Devon, whatever you do, never ever go out on the moors on your own at night." And Sir Henry's like, "All right, why would I? Fucking hell." Then something happens, Gav. What happens? Oh, ding, 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 ding.
There's a tarantula on Christopher Lee's shoulder. And Peter's like, "Don't move," and then knocks it off, and then dramatically hits the floor with his cane or his boot.
Yeah, he batters it to death with his cane, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Which your Sarah won't be happy about.
No, but you didn't actually see it.
Now, two bits of trivia for you. We don't often do a lot of trivia, but firstly, in real life, Christopher Lee's only phobia was spiders and tarantulas. So he was genuinely quite afraid. Because for ages they didn't show him with the spider. You just saw the close-up, which is, I'm assuming, it probably wasn't him. But there is one shot where there is a real tarantula on Christopher Lee's shoulder, and apparently that look of fear on his face is quite real. Secondly, Peter Cushing hated the taste of tobacco. So every time they called cut on a scene where he'd been smoking a pipe, apparently his assistant had a glass of cold strawberry milkshake ready for him to take a big sip of.
Oh, bless him.
Peter Cushing, just get my milkshake ready. I've got to do a scene with tobacco pipes. He just had a cold milkshake ready to wait for him.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, if you're Peter Cushing, you're going to be drinking strawberry milkshakes all the time, aren't you? I would. So there we go. So, yes, they think that this tarantula was potentially a assassination attempt or the curse at work, the curse of the Baskervilles at work.
It is. So, Watson goes down there, and on the way down, actually told about another. We get into play here in the story. Another thing which could be like a whole thing which could be dangerous. A prisoner has escaped from Dartmoor prison.
Yeah, so Dr. Mortimer, Sir Henry and Dr. Watson are in a carriage, and this is where quite a rude, he's like a cabbie, the guy that's taking them, and he's quite rude. He sort of says, well, you be careful there, you get your bloody throat slit in a minute. It's like getting out of a cab in London and the guy going, oh, you're in a bad neighbourhood, you're going to get your throat cut in a minute. Because they're like, what do you mean?
Last year I actually walked all around, did a ghost watch around Dartmoor prison. In the dark. It was great.
Well, did you get your throat cut by a ghost?
No.
Thank God. So yeah, this cabbie says to them, a murderer's on the loose, watch out, you might end up getting your throat cut. And Dr. Mortimer's like, you know what, I give zero fucks, see you later. And he goes off on foot on his own. He just goes off on his own, he doesn't care.
The Watson character in all the Sherlock Holmes films, especially the ones that I like, I can't remember the guy's name that plays Watson, Holmes, and he's really bumbling and just mucks things up and sort of trips over things. Oh, sorry, and it's always that Watson's always kind of that character I quite like.
I love him in the one with Benedict Cumberbatch when it's Martin Freeman playing him.
Oh yeah.
Because he's like, the reason he's got his limp is because he was in like Afghanistan, and you know he's actually. There's a scene in one of them where someone tries to attack Dr. Watson, Martin Freeman, and he does like some badass martial arts, just brief like military martial arts on someone, and you're like, yeah, because Dr. Watson is like a badass, you know.
Yeah, I did like that show.
Yeah, me too. Really enjoyed that.
I've never seen it since.
Some of it was filmed just down the road from me. It was a swim bath I used to go to when I was 5, the very first episode. But there we go. So Henry is shown around his mansion, his new manor, by Mr. Barrymore, the butler. Mr. Barrymore. He goes, here you go, this is all the bits you need to see. These are all the portraits. One of them's missing. That'll come back into the plot in just a minute. And this is all the bits and bobs, blah, blah, blah. Now, while this is all going on, poor old Watson sort of sat there drinking wine and sherry, and Sir Henry says, I do apologise, Dr. Watson. This is probably quite boring for you, just me hearing the family history and being shown around my massive mansion. And Dr. Watson's like, it's brilliant. I got loads of cheese to eat, loads of wine to drink. I'm just sat here having a great time. You guys crack on. It's brilliant. And Barrymore says to them, he then says, I do hear there's a family curse. Is that just a legend or is it real? And then Mr. Barrymore's wife, smash, she drops some glasses and gets all nervous and runs off. Oh, my wife's all over the place at the moment. Oh, Gav, that could be a clue. Yeah, so Barrymore says, look, this is, we'll tell you about the body. We found the body out of the moors, and he had a look on his face of absolute terror and horror. But I'll tell you something, I'll never forget the howl, the terrible howl of that creature that I heard that night. So he's sort of really sticking the story into them there, and they're like, interesting, very interesting. And then we cut to very hammer scene now, middle of the night. Dr. Watson wakes up in his pyjamas.
He is crying, doesn't he?
He hears a woman sobbing, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he thinks, bloody, by Jove, what's that?
By Jove.
So he goes out. I love this. He steps out of his room, and as he gets a couple of feet away from his room, he just stops. And he thinks, oh, fuck it, I'll go back to my bed then. Goes back to his bedroom. What does he hear out the window, Gav?
Is it
another howl?
Yeah. Oh.
And this time he sees the tiny, tiny little light flickering on the moors in the distance, and he thinks, by Jove. He always says, by Jove. So there we go. And the morning arrives, and we get a very drunk bishop arrive.
The vicar turns up, and everybody in the town knows that this is a drunk vicar that likes a drink.
But
so as
he likes butterflies.
As soon as he turns up, you're like, give him a drink. He likes a drink.
Yeah, he rocks up at the manor, And Sir Henry stood there, like, trying to say hello to him, but he's too busy trying to collect a butterfly in his hat. He's like, oh, wow, that's a very good example of lesser-spotted redwing. And he's like, oh, sorry, I was trying to collect my butterfly. So he's an entomologist. He's into bugs. But he's also really into sherry as well, isn't he? So Sir Henry says, come on in. You probably knew my uncle. I've inherited this place. Have a glass of sherry with me. And he's like, yes. Oh, I love the sherry that your uncle always had the best sherry in Devon. And he's just necking this sherry. Then he says, may he rest in peace. And then Watson comes over and says, hello, I'm Dr. Watson. I'm here sort of looking into the case. And he says, well, the reason I'm here is, this is hilarious, this scene. He says, the reason I'm here, why did I come here? Oh, yes, that's why. A jumble sale. And Sir Henry, who's so posh and been living in South Africa for loads of years, goes, a jumble sale? What on earth's that?
Which listeners, if you don't know, if you're out of America, I actually last week went to the village jumble sale.
Can you explain to our listeners who don't know what jumble sale is, Gav, please?
It's generally inside, but the one in my village, they have it outside. It rained lots, so they had it on tables. Basically, it's loads of shit that people don't want, and they're selling it. But you give it, and all the money goes towards a fund generally most of the time.
It's like a garage sale or a swap meet.
Yeah. This was by the local scout group, and
everybody just sets up a table and just sells their shit in one church hall.
But the one I went to, like scout group, so it's just like all the money goes to the scouts, so they've got the whole stuff. So over the year, people just take stuff to them. So I got a Chuck Norris DVD for 25p.
Brilliant.
It's all right.
But yeah, it's called a jumble sale because it is just a jumble of things, really. It's a very British thing. But like I say, Sir Henry has no idea what a jumble sale is, and he says, well, basically, and this is what the pissed priest says to him, he says, basically, any old cast-offs you've got, perhaps you could donate some of your old silver you're not using. Silver? Donate your old silver? But of course, Sir Henry's like, yeah, okay, sure, why not? It's not really mine, I've just inherited it.
Yeah, so, what's he doing? Does he walk around and go like, don't like that? Get rid of that.
Do you want these silver candlesticks?
Take them, they're shit.
But imagine going to the jumble sale and you're rummaging through some DVDs and you find a load of Christopher Lee's silver in there. You're like, oh, brilliant.
Yeah, what happens? People do throw out stuff they don't realise.
Watson's had enough at this point. He says,
oh, I'm going for a walk, fuck you all.
He says, I'm going to the post office. This is, I've got some affairs to take care of at the post office. All right, see you later, mate.
Okay, all right.
And the bishop carries on chatting. The last thing he says of the scene is, now that you've inherited this beautiful manor, you'll be one of the chief judges at the beautiful mother and baby contest this summer. It's all a bit weird and drunk and seedy.
And the vicar, though, Sarah called him a pea head because he didn't actually have a neck. It didn't go along here. It went there to there.
Yeah,
so
I see that.
The listeners can't see this. So it went from chin down to sort of bottom of throat, Adam's apple, but there was no like L shape, if that makes sense, where your face comes out. It was just like a whole head shape. It's like, what?
But the funny thing is, I've called him a pea head, but I've written piss head, so you could say he's a piss head as well.
So I just called him a pea head. Yeah, it looked like a pea for a head. Yeah. I was like, yeah.
Well, Watson starts exploring the moors and the countryside.
Explore the moors and the countryside.
And he's almost steps in a bear trap when a man pops out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Whose name is Stapleton. And he says, watch out! What? There's a bloody bear trap down there. We're fucking living in England. What have you got these things for? And he's like, well, catch animals, isn't it?
And he actually says, which I thought was actually quite ahead of its time, he actually says to him, do you not have a more humane way of doing this to the animals? That's just downright cruelty, that is. And I was like, oh, that's quite ahead of its time, really.
It is, yeah. I don't know if that was in the original book, but well done for including that if it wasn't. He says, I'm the neighbour of the Baskerville Manor. I'm the nearest neighbour. My name's Stapleton. And he says, I'll come up and meet Sir Henry at some point. But for now, before I leave you, I'll give you one bit of advice. Don't step off the tracks. Watson's like, fucking hell, all right.
Not until the moors, lads.
So Watson sticks to the path, and what does he see, Gav?
Finds a woman, but
a busty girl with no shoes, I've written down.
Yeah, sitting on some rocks and stuff. So he's like, hello.
He says, good morning.
Then she runs away from him. So he chases her. My first question, why does he chase her?
Well, first of all, he says, good morning, and she didn't answer him. Then he says, I've got myself a little bit turned around. Could you please direct me the way back to the Baskerville Manor? And that's when she just pegs it away from him.
So is he chasing because he's lost and needs to know where he's going? Because that's not a good idea. But at the same time, it's like, why are you chasing this lady? It's weird.
I think it's because he's more worried. I think it's because he's more worried about her.
I think so. But it's like, hang on, she probably knows more way around here than you do, a city boy. You know.
Yeah, because he's like, be careful, I've been told there's quicksand.
Like, well, surely she knows.
And then he ends up getting stuck in the
he runs into a fucking swamp.
And he falls in, and Stapleton and the girl run over, and they pull him out. Yeah. And he says, this is Cecile, my daughter. Stop looking at her boobs, he says. But he doesn't, but he might as well say that. And he says, no, you've got to be careful around here, and you shouldn't be out here either, Cecile, because there's that bloody escaped convict that we keep mentioning in the plot.
That's been really hard for, like, if you say that place there, like there's no one around whatsoever. So, like, if you are a young sort of person, especially a woman, like the farmer's daughter, do you know what I mean? It is like, must be really hard to be stranded when you just got like a mum and dad and their relationship's done, but you're literally, this pre-internet, I'm saying, completely out of nowhere. It must have been so hard. Or as a boy, I suppose as a male, you probably had more chance to leave because you'd be like, I'm going to join the army, or I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to go travelling, which you probably could. But for a woman, it was sort of frowned upon. Stay at home. Must have been really hard for them. Just
poor girl. Poor Cecile.
Yeah.
But
actually, you find out they're a bunch of crooks. But we get to that. Yeah.
Well, they're nice to Watson now because he's obviously very wet and muddy and cold and hurt. So they put him in the back of their cart and they take him back to the manor. By Jove, thank you. Now, when they get there, her dad, Stapleton, takes Watson in the manor and he says, Cecile, you wait outside.
Well, no, they go up to the hall. So Watson says to him, well, do you want to come and see Sir Henry now? And he says, good time as any. And that's where he says, you stay here, to his daughter. So they just go into the hall, but then Sir Henry comes along and he's just like, hello.
Yeah, well, he's not just hello, he's like, hello.
Again, Sir Henry's a single bloke. All of a sudden now he's in fucking bum tit arse nowhere. And it's just like,
look, he's just come over from Johannesburg. He's inherited £1 million mansion.
But there's no ladies around though.
There's a lady here with her boobs.
Well, this one is. So yeah, so he straight away, things are stirring in the downstairs department.
Well, she runs off, so he chases her. He's like, where are you going?
Again, what is up with this woman?
And this time,
chase me.
She gives him a big kiss.
Which is just mixed messages, love. Mixed messages.
You've run away from me and now you're kissing me. Most women run away from me after they've kissed me, Gav.
They would just run away from me and not kiss me, Dan.
I'd always kiss you. So Henry then goes to meet Stapleton and he's very frosty with him. And that's kind of the end of that scene. Nighttime. Next scene, nighttime. This time, more sobbing.
I actually say nighttime. That's my note. Nighttime.
Nighttime. More sobbing. And this time, Henry hears it. Fantastic shadow effects here now. As Henry is snooping around. And you see his big shadow on the wall of a door. And then you see another shadow move behind him. And it's Dr. Watson. And it's just done so well. Nice little bit of shadows. Very Hammer. Very classic. Absolutely love it. They enter this room that the sobbing is coming from, and they can see that there's a light on the moor again, and it looks like someone's been signalling at the house from the moors. Who could it be? Let's go out to the moors together. They didn't listen. What was told to them?
Watson's like, how many times are you like a child, a disobedient child that just keeps doing it?
So Watson's got his pistol. And they run out onto the moors together in the middle of the night.
Holmes would be so proud of me.
They find a candle, like a lantern, that was signalling back to the house. So they know there was somebody out there. And then they chase and they hear a howl again. But then Christopher Lee, Sir Henry, clutches his chest. And he sort of falls over a bit. And it's like, my heart. What does Watson do? Pulls out his hip flask. Here you go, have some of that. If you're having a heart attack, drink some of my whiskey. That'll help you out.
It's such old school, like, ideas, isn't it?
Okay, here, good man, have some of this. And he's like, thank you. They head back.
How's the whiskey going to do anything?
I don't know. If you're having a heart attack, have a whiskey. But they do say, like, when a woman's in labour, give her some booze because it slows down your heart rate and it. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe the reason,
maybe there is. I mean, Dr. Watson, he's a doctor, like, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe he's. I don't know what he's a doctor of. Is he like Dr. Dre? I don't know. And as they head back to the manor.
So the heart problems through the bloodline of the Baskervilles, is that a hereditary thing? Right.
It is indeed, and that's known by somebody, isn't it? Because that's how the original was killed, and that's how they're trying to kill this one. So
the Moors
as they
still
head
look
back,
fucking fantastic, by the way. Like the colours and the fog, they just look so good.
Now I've got a question for you. So the final part of this scene, as they head back to the moors, to the mansion, they see somebody stood on top of the hill watching them, like the outline, the silhouette of someone.
Well, that's Holmes.
Now, when you did the very, 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 very first trailer for The Shadow of Death, all those years back, did you have this in mind?
No.
Because do you know the bit I mean, where there's someone...
I know exactly the bit where I just panned out really far from John holding the head.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
Really far out. No, I just thought it looked good.
Never made it even into the actual film. That was just a trailer put together just for...
Because I shot with a totally different
That
camera.
was before I even got involved.
That was where I shot a different camera. It's a whole... Someone gave me a camcorder and I watched Grindhouse on the same day and I was given a camcorder and went, I can make a horror movie. And that started Deadbolt Films.
Brilliant. Yeah. So, they get back...
goes back to the moors again. Like, how many times, Watson, have we told you?
First of all, they put Henry to bed. They tuck him in.
You had a heart attack. Have a good sleep. Drink some booze.
Just sleep it off.
You'll be all right. So that's what I do with Elijah. Elijah thinks sometimes that I'm a mean dad because he'll fall over, cut himself, right, you'll be all right. I can't believe you're saying I'll be all right. You don't get it. Like, I'm trying to toughen him up. So, but I'm like, you'll be all right. Don't worry about it. Get on with it. Crack on. Come on.
You'll be fine.
And I have to do that sometimes. He thinks I'm a right mean bastard. But you know, you have a heart attack, just get in bed, you'll be fine. That's being a bit meaner.
Well, he says, Dr. Mortimer, you stay here and look after him. All right? And he's like, well, I've got things to do. It's the middle of the night. He's like, yeah, but he's had a fucking heart attack on the moors.
You're a doctor.
Look after him.
Yeah, you got 40 grand.
He says, well, I'm probably not going to get back to sleep tonight, so I might as well. I've got nothing else to do now.
He's such a twat.
And then Dr. Watson says, I'm going to go back to the moors to see what was going on out there.
At no point does Dr. Watson go, well, I haven't had much sleep, I'm tired. I'm not going to...
No, he's a trooper, that's why.
Going back, yeah, he's been in the army. He's like, right, come on, we've got a mission.
And we get one of my favourite scenes here with the set, the lighting, the fog. Yeah, really it's fantastic, isn't it?
It's
and this is where we hear, what are you doing out here alone?
And he finds Sherlock Holmes. And he's saying, why have you left him there? So before he can answer and say, like, you know, Holmes, what are you doing here? Before he can sort of say that, question him, he has to answer, well, it's right, Dr. Mortimer's there, it's fine, it's okay. It's like, right, okay.
He says, what are you doing here?
What are you doing here then?
And he says, well, I arrived here 4 hours after you. And he's like, so you've been in Devon for a week?
Do you see the bit where he tickles him? You little cheeky bugger, Holmes.
I didn't see that.
It might be in the extras.
Okay. So he says, when did you arrive? And he said, 4 hours after you. He said, so you've been in Devon a whole week? He says, yeah. He said, I've just been watching from the sidelines, making sure everything's going all right.
Watching for a week.
He said, I caught and interrogated that convict.
I love it, yeah. Well,
so I got all the information I need.
I was bored sitting on the moors, so there was a convict actually escaped. So I actually caught him and questioned him. Like, okay.
Find out all about him, and then they hear a howl.
They'll let him go because he is a right bloke, you know.
They hear a howl, and they run off, and they hear a man scream, and they find what they think is Sir Henry's body face down.
Movie flies, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. Yeah.
Yeah, they find Sir Henry.
So they think, oh no, he's dead. Christopher Lee's dead. Dr. Watson blames himself. We can't do anything at the moment. It's too dark. Let's go back to the manor. This is just appalling. I'm so sorry. Let me show me your room, says Holmes. I don't know why he's very interested in going to Watson's room. Take me to your room immediately, Watson. Is this a P. Diddy pie? I don't know. But he says, all right, and on their way there, he says, hang on a minute. There's a candle in that room. And they go in the room, and they find Christopher Lee, not asleep in bed, resting after a heart attack. He pops up and goes, "What the bloody hell are you? Oh, it's you two. What are you doing here?"
Didn't you always have a heart attack earlier? Shouldn't you be resting?
Like, literally 2 hours ago. What are you doing? He's like, well, I thought I'd come in here and, you know.
No, Holmes what says to the butler, put that candle out, it serves no purpose.
He does.
And the butler's a bit hesitant, and he's correct. It does serve no purpose in the day-to-day schemes of things. But we know, well, later on we'll find out, and the butler knows there's a reason why that light's there. But Holmes knows that. Holmes knows exactly why it's there.
He knows
he's
what's going on.
playing that with the butler. Put that out, there's no reason. He wants to know what his reaction's going to be to that statement.
This is that classic Jessica Fletcher, Columbo, where they've already worked it out within 2 minutes of arriving.
Yeah.
But for us, the audience, we get to now let people trip themselves up and reveal things. You know, I love the detectives that do it like that. Like Columbo is my favourite because I love the way he knows throughout the whole hour, 90 minutes of that programme you're watching.
Yeah.
But he's just waiting for the person to give it all away themselves, you know?
I can't wait till I can unbox my DVDs at my new place and I can get my Columbo set out. We're going to start cracking on.
It's so good. So they go back in the morning. So they say, there's no point in going back tonight. We won't be able to see anything. You know, it's all very logical. So they go back in the morning when it's light, and they find out that it was actually the convict that was dressed in Henry's clothing. Where did he get these clothes from? We don't know. We'll find that out later. And he says, well, where the hell is Dr. Mortimer? We asked him to stay here and look after you. He said, we ended up arguing, and he left. And I've written my notes here at this point. Mortimer.
I'm surprised because Mortimer's a dick, isn't he?
Well, at this point, I suspected it was Mortimer.
Yeah, I agree. It does. It does. He is definitely a colourful fish. He's put across as.
He is a colourful fish, a little red herring there, isn't he? Yeah. A little blue tuna. But they all decide to go to bed. They're all pooped. And as he walks up the stairs, Holmes also says, there's a missing portrait here. Interesting. See, he's building. He's got everything in his head. Yeah, it's like a machine.
He's putting the case together.
So morning time, they find a bloody trail along the moors, and they find the body.
Yeah, this was a bit of an odd one.
Body's been mutilated in a ritualistic style.
Body has been cut up for a sacrifice. They say, like, okay. So where does this come from?
Well, yeah. So this is the convict.
This is like
isn't it?
New horror has come into this thing all of a sudden,
and it's been done with a dagger, the curved dagger with the Baskerville crest. So this is the curved dagger that was seen in the opening scenes.
But just the fact that there's been a sacrifice, it's a bit like, that's a bit like quite darker. As all of a sudden throwing that in there, like, okay.
They said, what human could have done this? Holmes then questions the butler, Barrymore, and his wife.
And the butler's wife.
And he tricks them into admitting their real names.
What's the butler saw?
He says, now then, Mr. Barrymore, chat. And then he says, and how about you, Mrs. Selden? He doesn't call her Mrs. Barrymore. He says, Miss Selden. She says, yes, I know.
And she doesn't go, hang on, why you call me that? Because they're in phone and conversation. The conversation's already rolling, questioning going on, and it just throws it in there, but without any hesitations. Very cleverly done.
And she has given the game away, and she reveals that the convict that's now dead was her brother Selden,
and he was wearing the jumble sale clothes.
Yes, so she gave him some
Henry's
old clothes.
Which they would have been Sir Henry's old clothes though, because Sir Henry's ain't just got there.
Yeah, but
it must have been.
But the priest said to him, "Give me your silver and you give me your clothes," didn't he? So he did.
But it couldn't have been his clothes, though. So I'm saying, like, he's only just got there. And they said, but then again, it could have been some of his old clothes. Now he's just turned up and now he's a millionaire. He might have just bought a whole new wardrobe. So, yeah, okay.
Right. But, yeah, so the signal... So this is what, going back to the candle in the room that you mentioned. They were signalling to him when it was safe for him to come down and get some food and some clothing. He was signalling back to them.
Basically, the prisoner escaped, and it was the butler's wife's brother. And she just felt bad. And it's a bit like, well, he's escaped from prison. Why is he in prison? But then again, we don't know the reason. But let's take a guess that he's probably a naughty person. Obviously, he could be put in for wrong reasons or corruption or something like that. But let's take a guess he's a naughty person. And you can't really feel sorry for him, to be honest with you. you know.
No, but that is a great that plot line subplot is a great red herring.
It's fantastic. Yeah, to have
threaded in there, and it ends now halfway through the film. It ends. We know that that's nothing to do with the rest of it.
That story's now sort of gone and he's dead as well.
It's
she
brilliant.
says, like, I'm afraid he's dead out there, you know. And it's quite sad in a way, I guess, but for the sister's loss. But I don't care for the prisoner so much, if that makes sense. But I do care for that. She's like trying to look after him. Now he's dead, and it feels like he was out in the moors. It's pretty much almost the same as being in prison. She can't actually see him anymore because he's in prison. Being out in the moors still like a distant, and all of a sudden gone. Now it wouldn't have been such a shocking thing for her for seeing her brother every day all of a sudden because he's been in prison and stuff. But you still felt quite sorry for her in a way.
With a lesser director that. And perhaps a more modern film. That red herring
thing,
yeah, but it wouldn't have worked. But this worked so well, and because everyone's so committed to their acting and everything in this. So Holmes now goes to visit the bishop, who he knows is an entomologist, because he suspects he might have something to do with that tarantula that was there back in London.
Yeah, he asked him about spiders and stuff. Peahead Vicar. So
he goes there and he says he's hammered again. Staring for a telescope.
Wait, because he's having problems with his telescope. Yeah, this is just ridiculous, though.
I love it.
He goes, he can't see properly. First of all, then smashes a window with a telescope. Oh no, wait. He can't move it because it's a bit stiff. Holmes looks at it and goes, have you got some graphite grease? Gives him this like graphite grease stuff, and he goes, puts it around it, and then the hinge works. Like that isn't great detective work. I could have done that one. Basically, you need a bit of lube on your hinge there, and that'll move fine. And because
stop saying lube, it takes me back to my P2D times.
But basically, because it happens, he goes to move it like he's used to moving it, where it's all old and stiff, hits it just slightly and smashes a window. Oh, this is good now. Yes, you're so clever.
He says, I do wish Mrs. Jones wouldn't keep closing those windows. That's all he says. He smashed the window with his telescope, but he's too pissed to care about it.
It's not like some intelligent, crazy thing that only Sherlock Holmes could do as well, which really frustrated me in a little way, because it was literally like you just got some grease on your hinge. That's it. Yeah.
Well, Holmes again.
It's not a hinge, sorry. It's a rotating, whatever it's called.
Holmes again tricks him, and it's not hard because he's quite drunk, into revealing that he had one of his spiders stolen. And he says, but she was a very poisonous spider, so hopefully it's not roaming around London. And he says, no, it's not roaming around London because I destroyed it with my staff. He killed it, and he squished it. And he's like, okay. He said, well, I'll see you later. And he just sort of leaves the drunk bishop alone. And then Sir Henry is wandering around, and he goes to visit his neighbour, Stapleton.
The daughter's there, obviously. So he goes to see that. Basically, he goes to opens the door. The daughter's there. She opens the door, obviously. He goes in. We can wait for Dad, and then they start kissing.
Well, before that,
okay.
She says, "Come in. Would you like some cider?" He's like, "Yes, I would." So they have a little bit of cider.
I was going to say something else. Then, does she want something inside her?
I thought you might. Well, he says, "My father's not here. He's gone to invite you here for dinner, actually, funny enough. So when you see him later," she also reveals, "By the way, I'm half Spanish." It's like, "Oh yeah?" She said, "Yeah." And she says, "And I'm very lonely."
Yeah, she's basically saying, I don't want to be here.
If a woman says to you, "I'm half Spanish and I'm very lonely," Bob's your uncle.
And Lee wants some.
Which
so they kiss, and then the dad turns up. Awkward!
Well,
How
just before
awkward
that,
is this?
The dad turns up just as she says to him, "Will you meet me tonight?"
Yeah. And then they start kissing.
And then they let round.
And then the dad's there. So imagine that. Imagine coming home, and then your new neighbour's just coming next door. You come home, and he's snogging your daughter.
And your daughter's just whispering to him, come and meet me tonight."
Hello?
Well, he keeps his composure. He says, "Sit down, let's have a cider together."
He doesn't even mention it once.
He says, let's have a cider together.
But we do know that these guys later on, spoiler, are crooks. So that's why he doesn't mention it, because it's a part of the plan.
It is. And so
he's
seduction,
probably
I believe.
quite happy when he sees that. But it's just it's really odd, though, getting your daughter, sell your daughter out sexually just so you can get your sister, you know.
Now, Holmes has deduced that this tarantula from earlier was meant to try and induce the heart attack, which it never did. Because he killed it before it could scare him. But they do discuss the case a bit. Yeah. They meet up with Dr. Mortimer, and he seems very tense. And Holmes is quite accusatory. He asks him about an old tin mine, and he says to him, "You must stay away from the tin mine." And Holmes is like, "Okay, it's being a bit defensive there, Mortimer." He says, "I think you should come with us. Come with us to the tin mine." And he shows him, he says, "I found this curved dagger."
Dramatically, out of nowhere, throws a knife into a table. "I found this!" It's like, well, all right, Holmes, what's going on?
Cushion for it's like, Jesus Christ.
Why did you make it so dramatic? Why didn't you just say, "I found this," rather than possibly stabbing the poor fella?
He says to him, "How old do you think it is?" He goes, "I couldn't possibly say. A couple of 100 years old." And he goes, "And how old's the blood on it?" He's like, "I don't know.
I don't know, you just thrown it into a table, so the evidence is gone now, probably."
And he says, "Well, I found it at the crime scene." So they head to the mine. He drags him there, and Watson says, "I'll wait up here."
But this is the point where we have Holmes's classic deerstalker hat.
He does indeed. He gets his deerstalker on.
Magnifying glass. This classic Holmes. Love it.
So Watson doesn't go down in the tin mine.
And listeners, if you ever go to Baker Street looking for Holmes's residence, it doesn't exist.
Oh, by the way, the reason they've gone to the tin mine is because Holmes looked at a map of Devon and realised that this tin mine could be something to do with the case. It could be to do like with tunnels and escaping around on the moors. So he wants to see if there is a dog or a wolf or something. It could be living in there. So he heads to the tin mine. Watson waits up top. So it's Stapleton, the neighbour, Dr. Mortimer, and Sherlock Holmes. And they talk about how it's too dangerous down there. But they go anyway, and Holmes goes off to explore. He finds an Indiana Jones mine cart. The other two wait further back. Then they hear a howl. And I think they push this mine cart, Gav, don't you? Because this mine cart comes flying at Sherlock Holmes and causes a huge landslide.
Yeah.
Oh no! We cut to them sort of climbing out, going, "Well, we've tried for ages. We can't find him down there. If he's down there, he's dead. There's no way he's alive." No, absolutely not. They turn around. And he's sat in the cart going, "God."
Smoking a pipe, what's taking you so long? Okay, right, I'd be like this. Right, Holmes, if you've been out here and you're fine, why didn't you fucking tell us, you dickhead? Been sitting there trying to fucking pull you out, and you're sitting here having a fucking pipe, you dickhead.
He even says, Watson says, "How did you get out?" And he says, "Listen, I've hurt my leg, I'm very cold, and I'm very hungry. Why don't you get me back?"
He's been there for 10 minutes. It's like, 10 minutes, we've still been digging for you, you dickhead.
So they take him back.
Like, that's the only thing in here which Holmes annoyed me with. Don't be such a dick. That's a dick move. Just to prove how fucking clever you are. He explains
that he found a really big bone down there, like a big beef bone that you'd feed a dog. And then he says, "Pass me my tobacco, Watson." And he said, "It's not here." And he said, "Don't be ridiculous, man. It's in the top right drawer." "It's not here." And he said, "What? Where's the dagger?" And the dagger's also been stolen. So someone's been in his room and stolen the evidence. Ooh. So Sir Henry tells Sherlock Holmes, "Guys, you probably don't want to come. Well, I've been invited to dinner. You're not coming, really. You don't have to come at all."
He's been invited for a meal next door to the neighbours.
To the hot neighbours.
On purpose, turns into a cunt and says, "Well, I don't like your peasant friends, and you shouldn't be going."
Yeah. He's really rude to him. He says, "Have fun with your peasants." And he says, "How dare you? I won't have you speak of a woman like that."
Obviously it's on purpose. He could have just said, "My ankle hurts, I'm not going to go. Thanks anyway."
"I'll have you know, I kissed this busty wench twice in the last day.
I'm hoping for some slippery, sloppery stuff around my genital area later."
"Oh, good day to you," when he runs off. But it's all done on purpose to make him leave without them. Because Watson calls him out on it, and Holmes is like, "Look, I'd had to be a cunt to make him run off."
Yeah.
So we cut to Sir Henry and Cecile kissing on the moors.
Watson is with it's like Batman and Robin. Watson's with Holmes all the time, always there. He's always there. Probably lives in the same house but in a different room. Always
they share a bed
there.
like Bert and Ernie.
They're always together, and Bill and Ted. There's many ones we could put together. They're always together.
Gav and Dan.
But I was going to say us actually, but. Imagine we live in the same house, sort of thing. But he still doesn't know when Holmes is pulling a ruse, like he's being a cunt on purpose.
He's clever, Gav.
He's still, it's because Watson's a bit of a divvy when it comes down to it. It's funny, but you need Watson because Watson's actually the heavy, which you don't think about. But Watson is the one that can actually do some martial arts and stuff and has a gun. He's the one. So if an old school,
and he's a doctor.
Yeah. So an old school computer game, you could choose your characters and you could have two of you playing and going along the screen, and that's great because we've got that one because he's got the gun, but the other one he's got the real intelligence, like it would be the magician or the wizard, whatever. So
amazing. Well, we see Sir Henry, so Christopher Lee and Busty Cecile are kissing on the moors. A little shot of that there. And this is where things are starting to come together now because Holmes reveals that the missing portrait that we've mentioned a couple of times, it was actually a portrait of Stapleton the neighbour. And the reason it was taken down is because it reveals he's got webbed hands. Weird.
Really weird.
And that actually Stapleton the neighbour is next in line. So if he kills Sir Henry...
Me and Dan Aykroyd have the same webbed feet.
Oh, what do you have them on weekends and he has them on weekdays?
He's got webbed toes in the exact same place where I have webbed toes on both feet, and he thinks that's something to do with his one of his things like supernatural. And I was like, oh, am I special too?
He's a bit mad, isn't he, Dan?
Yeah, he is a bit. But if I ever meet him, I'll fucking take my shoes and socks off and just go, look, hey!
He'll be like,
no,
his flies will just automatically undo.
I don't know anyone else that's got webbed feet, both webbed feet.
Do you think he's actually received a blowjob from a ghost in real life?
I don't know, maybe. Doesn't help me swim any faster, I don't think.
What, getting a blowjob from a ghost?
No, webbed feet.
Oh, right. So, yes, it's a bit of a weird, convoluted, but it works. And basically, the portrait was taken down because it showed that Stapleton's next in line. So the whole thing is that Stapleton and his daughter hate the Baskervilles, and they want to kill Sir Henry by frightening him to death because they know that they've all got bad hearts in that side of the family.
They would honeymoon.
I suppose it does, yeah, it does.
Frighten you to death.
I know that one of you is a werewolf.
I love Haunted Honeymoon. I've not seen it since we recovered it.
Such a good film. So yes, that's why Cecile was seducing him to his death, essentially. I mean, her dad's probably said, give him a really good shag, he might drop dead from that. He's got a bad heart. Yeah, if that doesn't work, we'll get the Hound of the Baskervilles onto him. Yeah. Either way, we're going to kill him. You get laid and we both get rich.
That's a bit horrible thing to say about your kid.
It is, but money's money at the end of the day.
Well, no, it's not. No, it's not.
So Holmes and Watson wait at the ruins on the moor, and this is where we get your favourite green lighting coming in now.
Holmes and Watson go down into a certain area of a cave and in a rock sort of formation bit, and there's kind of a doorway, and they go into it, and there's been a purposely lit green light basically put in there, which looks gorgeous, but means nothing. No natural lighting would be there whatsoever, because generally when you light a scene, even you have your key, which is your main, and then you got fills, which is whatever. Normally, most time you have a light in a scene, you kind of go, let's put realism in here. Where could that be coming from? And try and do it like that. Unless you're Dario Argento or Terence Fisher doing this scene shot here, and you're just like, there's just green light in there.
Terence said he wants green. What? Look, what Terry wants, something he gets, all right?
But
go and get the green bulbs.
The thing is, though, I don't care. It doesn't make me go, Well, I'm not watching this film again because that light isn't natural.
No, because you know what you're getting with a Hammer film, don't you? You know you're going to get that.
It's a style thing, and but it still wouldn't put me off, even if it was slightly off. Like tomorrow night, I can't say the finale of the film, but there's going to be, you know, because there's messages. We're going to have a big thing like this, and it's going to be lit behind it. I'm doing hand signals to Dan, and there's no reason why that would be. There's literally no reason. I've said to them, can it be red? And there's no reason in the woods you can have a big fucking structure of a red light. But
it's a style choice.
But I'm doing it because why the fuck not? So yeah.
Well, basking in this green light, Holmes and Watson wait at the ruins, and Cecile and Sir Henry show up and kiss a bit more. She then reveals her plan to him. And she was the girl at the beginning of the film who ran away, who was they almost raped her. And she actually is a Baskerville too. Her mother was related to them.
She slaps Lee and says, "You're not the first Baskerville who wanted it."
Yeah.
Oh, great. I'll get sloppy seconds from my relatives, am I?
We get another howl.
Oh.
It's
the first appearance of the Hound, and it's so well done still. It looks terrifying.
It's a big dog with a really weird face, isn't it?
It's got a big mask on it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it attacks Sir Henry.
Yeah.
Apparently the dog was quite vicious that they used, and there was a little boy on set watching them do this, and they said, "Don't worry, we got the dog really well trained," and the dog really went for Christopher Lee, and at the last minute it turned, and its owner saw the dog turn and look at the boy, and he knew the look in his dog's eyes.
Shit.
And he grabbed the dog and stopped it, and they said, "Why is that boy on set?" Because it was dark as well. Shouldn't have been there.
Yeah, it looks like fucking food.
But the dog was like, "I'm going to eat that boy."
Yeah.
But yes, so
imagine if that had happened. You not even have this movie.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well, Watson shoots Stapleton dead, and Holmes shoots the dog. Cecile runs off.
And
all don't worry.
All this is really crafted, well done. The editing is fantastic, and that actually, because I've even got here, it's edited really well and looks good. That goes back to then Terence Fisher being an editor.
It does, because normally, but at this point in a film, it gets a bit muddly, doesn't it? And we're sort of zooming through it. But this is actually done very well.
Especially here, though, geography could easily go out of place. You could get confused because it's all grey rocks with some fog.
Someone's shooting a dog, somebody else is shooting a man, a girl's running off.
Cut there. But it plays fine.
Yeah, it works very nicely.
Yeah,
Cecile runs off. They said, "Don't worry about her, we'll find her later. Look, let me show you the Hound, Sir Henry." And he's like, "I don't think I want to see it." Then I think you do. And he takes the mask off, like you said. So it's actually a dog that had been kept in the tin mines.
It's sad, really, because it's not the dog's fault.
It's been starved there, and basically they let it out at night to scare Sir Henry with a mask on, and they gave him the missing boot from London as scent.
Yeah.
So it would try and track him down. They find Cecile stuck in the swamp.
You dickhead.
And she dies.
Yep.
And amazing last line from Sherlock Holmes. He says, "The curse has claimed its last victim."
Yeah.
Brilliant. And then, the end is Holmes and Watson back in their house, and they get a parcel from Christopher Lee. And they're like, "What has he sent you?" "He sent us the missing portrait of the webbed hand as a thank you, along with a cheque for my time." And then he says the last word of this film, "Nothing."
That's the last word.
Watson says, "Muffin." I did not expect the last word of this Hammer horror film to be muffin, but it is. And that's it. And what a fantastic, classy, brilliant Sherlock Holmes, Hammer horror, British whodunit. A couple of great red herrings, very stylistic, as British as they come. Did you like it? I loved it.
Oh yeah, I chose it. So yeah,
you did.
I've only got a few Hammer movies on Blu-ray. I've got Plague of Zombies, Dracula, Prince of Darkness, and I've got this because they're quite hard to. They're quite a little expensive and quite hard. I wish Hammer would sort it out and do just I've got the DVD box set, but I wish they'd do a Blu-ray special thing. I don't know why they haven't done it, because they would make a fucking killing.
I've got a
I don't understand it.
I've got a little DVD box set that's got like 6 in it.
Yeah, there's that one, and then there's obviously the big square one which you can open up.
Yeah, I haven't got that one.
Yeah, because I remember, like I've spoke about this before when we did the Hammer thing. HMV one, I went in HMV one time, and they had a crate of these Hammer ones there, all for £20 or £15.
Oh God!
And there's a crate, and they were just like trying to, because they were going for like 70 when they first came out, and I went in there and there's like 19.99. I was like, take my money.
Man, yeah, because I've got the Gorgon, I've got Plague of the Zombies, but yeah, like you said,
but Blu-ray, it's really hard, and they're quite expensive. The Blu-rays, and to buy them separately, I wish they'd just do like a collection.
Much like Arrow or somebody like that could come along and grab them.
I don't understand why it's not done. So if I ever get a chance to speak to someone from Hammer, I will bring it up.
Get your shit together. But listen, if you've not seen this, or you're a fan of Sherlock Holmes or Hammer or all of the above, you're going to really love this. If you've seen it, go put it on. Put a blanket over yourself.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon viewing, fucking perfect.
Yep.
It's getting colder. It's perfect time to watch it.
It's wonderful, wonderful stuff. Well, talking of wonderful stuff, look who's just walked in the room, Billy Murray.
Oh, here he is.
He heard us talking about Dan Aykroyd's webbed feet. And he's got all excited. He's got his glass of sherry, just like the drunken bishop.
Yep.
And he's saying he wants to be very British. What does that mean, though?
I don't know.
No, we're not going dogging, Bill. That isn't a British pastime. Look, just take us into World of the Strange, for God's sake.
Hi, welcome back to World of the Strange.
World. By Jove, it's the World of the Strange, Watson.
It's about the strange.
World of the Strange. Thank you, Billy. Billy Murray.
Stories about hammers.
No, it's Hammers About Stories. What? No, I've got something very British to talk about, but before I get into that, I've got 2 real life stories that came to me in the last week. One of them is about this very house I'm in. I might spook myself out telling you this.
Oh, that's great.
Now, my son, Jack, is currently potty training, and he is having a bit of an anxious time, bless him. He's not sleeping great. And yeah, we were in the living room on the weekend, just me and him, because my wife took my daughter out. So we do some one-to-one time, get that potty training done.
Good to do that, yeah.
And me and him had a really good weekend. We watched some great films together and played some great games, and it's so lovely.
What sort of films are you watching now with him?
Princess Bride, Labyrinth, the same sort of stuff, really. But he's got the attention span now to sit and watch them with me, and he asks for them. But anyway, we were in our living room, and he looked at that door and went, "Oh, who's that?" I went, "What?" And he said, "Someone peeped around the door at me, Daddy."
Oh, God.
And I said, "What?" "No." And he went, "I think it's Mummy. I can hear someone out there." And I said, "There's no one home, Jack. Mummy's not home." And he ran into the dining room going, "Hello? Mummy? Daddy, who was it peeping at me?" And I said, "There's no one peeping at you, Jack." And I was thinking, okay, this is getting a bit creepy now. And then later on, we were in the dining room, and my daughter was home at this point, so it was me and both my children. And he said, "Oh, that monster's back." And I said, "What?" And he went, "I just seen him in the kitchen this time peeping at me around the corner." And I went, "Right, you're going to have to show me," because I freaked out, but I obviously would need to be a brave dad and say, "Look, I've got to show you there's nothing in the kitchen, Jack."
Yeah, you can't say again, "Oh, don't, I'm scared."
So I went in the kitchen. I said, "Where is it?" And he said, "It went back under the sink, under the cupboard under the sink." So I opened the cupboard and said, "Look, there's just saucepans under here. There's nothing." And he went, "Oh, I did see it. I don't know where it's gone now." And then later on, Alice said to him, "What did it look like?" And he said, "It had a grey face, like a zombie or something." And she said, "Well, what did it want?" He said, "It wanted to come in and get me."
Well, maybe that's his imagination.
It might be, but either way,
but set up some cameras. That's what you got to do. Set up a camera.
I don't want to.
I very quickly, I went into I don't know if I told you this. It's really funny. I might have said this. I can't remember. I was with Sarah and went into like a charity shop in her town, And ended up just buying a couple of horror movies, and then the cashier just started chatting to me, and it was the manager, and she started saying about downstairs is haunted. And I was like, oh, what, the basement? Yeah. And then afterwards she's like, do you want to come look? I went, yeah. So she took us down to the basement.
Oh, God.
And she's like, no, it's fully haunted down there. Shit moves, stuff always going on. Like, and I was like, really? I was like, I've got a camera back at Sarah. I could bring it back here now and leave it here. Can I do it? And she's like, no. And she wouldn't let me. I was like, please,
that's a shame.
let me just leave a camera for like an hour. I'll go shopping, come back and just take it, please. But no. Gutted.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you can do that overnight...
Yeah, I actually said to her, I'd happily stay here overnight if you want.
Or even just leave the camera.
But they can't do it because she's just mad. She can't just let a random person stay in the basement. What she could tell the head office. Well, he's looking for. He's a Ghostbuster.
He's a ghost hunter. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that came to my attention, which is another real life story, a lady that I work with, good friend of mine, I've worked with her for over 10 years, Emma. Shout out to you, Emma. She's got a friend whose daughter has a doll. And this doll has been with, I think the daughter must be about 5, 6. She's had this doll for about 2 or 3 years, and they take this doll everywhere. This daughter, she takes, when they go on holiday, she takes the doll and she brings a little suitcase with clothes in it for the doll. And I've been sent pictures of this girl, you know, with the doll. Just pictures that are on social media, and she thinks it's her real sister, to the point that my friend Emma's daughter has been invited to a party, for a birthday party for the doll, that she's saying to her daughter, you're not going to that party. And then there was an argument the other day between the children because her daughter said, it's not your sister, it's a piece of plastic. Even as a 5-year-old, she was like, it's a piece of plastic. And this girl's like, it's my real sister. And the doll is really creepy. And I think there's something supernatural and sinister about it. And it turns out that the same time she got given the doll was around the same time her grandma died.
Oh, okay.
So it's like,
but that's right, if the grand soul's gone into the doll.
Soul in the doll. Yeah. You gotta pay the
toll to get into this boy's soul. I forgot to actually, it made me think about it. Actually, I did go to watch another movie. I know we're not doing the intro. Very, very quickly, I went to cinema with Sarah and we watched the new movie with that British guy. He's in a house in the country in Cornwall, and invites some people down to them.
Do you mean Speak No Evil?
Yeah, it's a remake from like just 2 years ago or something.
The Scottish guy, James McAvoy.
That's it.
There we go.
That's pretty good, pretty decent.
I've heard it's very good.
Yeah, it's not bad. He's decent. He's a good actor.
James McAvoy is a huge horror fan and is frustrated beyond belief that horror never gets any recognition.
Is he?
Yeah, he's really... The interview for Speak No Evil, he was doing some publicity stuff, and he was like, I never understand why a genre that can talk about so many layers and politics and social and this, that and the other...
Doesn't get enough recognition, yeah.
And can also be funny and this, that and the other. Why doesn't it get the recognition?
Same reason Oscars, they're just like, no, it's just whatever.
Because he's been in like all the Shyamalan stuff, you know, he's done quite a lot. He's amazing.
I'll give him a ring if he wants to do some horror.
James McAvoy.
Come do some found footage of me in the woods.
He'd be like, all right, can I be Professor X again?
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, the main bit for World of the Strange.
Go on.
We're being British, we're doing Hammer, we're doing Terence Fisher stuff. So let's talk about, and these might not be weird to me and you because we are British, Gav, but to anyone outside of Britain, these are some very strange British customs.
Oh, because they won't be strange to us at all. It might be the odd one, possibly.
Yeah. But when I go through these, imagine being a foreigner and wondering what the hell are they doing.
Yeah.
So let's start with dancing around the maypole.
Oh, yeah, I love it. It's just wicked. It's Wicker Man all over. I love going to a summer fete and they're doing maypole dancing.
Yeah. So
it's very English.
So to the untrained eye, it might look like just a bunch of school children
running around with Yeah, explain what
in
it is.
different directions, but they've all got a ribbon each, and the ribbon that
It's
they're holding
tied to a big pole.
in the middle, yeah,
And
they
they
all
go
run
round
around.
and they weave in and out each other to make like a pattern of the pole.
And it's all very sort of pagan and oldie Englishy.
Yeah, and it's still and like it's so still because it's such an old school thing, but it's so common really in England that everybody knows about it. And if you went down to a village fete, you wouldn't batter an eyelid if you saw it. You'd be like, "Oh, nice." You wouldn't think, "Oh, that's weird." You'd be like, "Oh yeah, it's Maypole."
So it's been done since the medieval times to celebrate May Day.
And like, honestly, you don't think it's a weird thing if you saw it.
The original tradition was that the prettiest girl in the village was the May Queen. Gav, you're the May Queen.
It's the summer I turned pretty.
And all the other bright young things of the village put on their best sacks. So all the other children wear sacks, apart from the May Queen, and they do dances and jigs, and they blow different instruments, accordions, pipes. Someone plays a fiddle. They wind their ribbons round and round and round and round, a very big phallic pole, basically, until they all end up kissing each other. So it's a very strange tradition. When they're all tied up, they all kiss each other. Then they light a big funeral sort of pyre, and then they pretend to sacrifice the May Queen to the pagan god. Apparently the rumour is they thought back in the medieval days they actually did sacrifice the Virgin, but they don't really have that confirmed. But yeah, very strange tradition that we still do in villages
regularly.
Yeah. Brilliant stuff.
I will. And next time I'm out and I see it, we're coming up to the winter now, so we won't so much now. Next time I see it, I'll take a photo or film it a little bit and put it on the podcast.
I mean,
page.
We went to a village fete here, and I saw it this year. And last time I was at a village fete in your village, we watched it as well. So I've used to do it at school. We used to do it. You know, I quite enjoyed it. The next one is called Jack in the Green. Heard of this one?
No.
So basically, it's like watching loads of hedges walk down the road. Yeah.
Okay.
And again takes place in a May bank holiday.
I would go. What the fuck's that?
It's to do with Morris dancing as well, but that is another activity which we'll talk about in a moment. But basically, you've got these green-faced bogies, as they're called, but they're actually like these big people dressed as bushes, and they all sort of walk around and pretend to get killed on people's roofs of their buildings. And it's just a very weird May Day.
I've never heard of this or seen it, to be honest with you.
They don't do it in very many villages anymore, but it's called Jack in the Green, and it really only happens in a couple of villages in Sussex these days.
It reminds me of Canary Wharf in San Francisco. There's a guy down there, there's a bushman, and he was just literally have a bush, total bush, like you'd think it's a bush. Then he'd go like that, and then he'd try and get money out of you if you jump.
Brilliant.
Yeah, bushman.
Give you some money.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, here we go, Gav. Let's say you're a foreigner. Hey, my American friend, would you like to come and watch the cheese rolling?
Oh yeah.
They'd be
I've never seen it in person.
What?
I've only watched
cheese
it on YouTube.
Rolling. Yeah, so cheese rolling tradition that's attracted around up to 15,000 people travel to Gloucestershire, which is quite near me.
It's such a weird thing.
And basically, you've got a big wheel of cheese, and you roll it down the steepest hill in Gloucestershire. It's so steep, it's almost vertical.
It's crazy people who are using an excuse for getting a massive lump of cheese, which they'd never even eat, an excuse for them just to be crazy. What do they do, Dan?
The cheese can gather speeds of 70 miles an hour because this hill's so steep.
You got to think a massive fucking bit of cheese rolling
like the
down a
size
hill.
of a cartwheel.
Yeah, rolling down a hill, and the winner who gets to it is the winner of the cheese.
Well, you have to chase it, but everybody.
But you have to
falls
roll
down.
Like
every year.
cheese.
There's broken legs, broken bones.
It's insane. Watch on YouTube.
You've got to be shirtless as well, so only men generally take part in it. Although they probably changed the rules in some way.
I think last I've seen it, I haven't seen shirtless. I've seen just all sorts doing it. Yeah.
But yeah, if you manage to get to the bottom, then you win the cheese.
Which you'd never be able to eat all that cheese anyway, and it's just insane. Watch it. It looks like loads of test patient dummies.
No one's ever
thrown
died
down a hill.
No one's ever died, but there have been multiple concussions, broken bones, legs, arms, etc.
Of course.
Because that hill is incredibly steep, and when you're running downhill that steep, you cannot stop. And once you start tripping and falling,
bouncing and rolling all over. Yeah, watch it on YouTube, people. It's weird.
So that's cheese rolling, baby. Cheese rolling. Here's the next one. Tar barrels. Tar barrel racing.
I don't
Have
know
you heard of this?
No.
Okay. So this takes place in Devon. And it takes place on Guy Fawkes Night, which is remember the 5th of November. So flaming tar barrels. This already sounds dangerous, doesn't it? In Devon. So 17 massive old wood and iron barrels are filled up with tar and set on fire, and then carried, usually at great speed, on the shoulders of the biggest, strongest men in the village. On fire, mind Gav.
I've never heard of this or seen it.
And they have to carry them around the town, and about 10,000 people turn up every year to watch this. And you want to try and get as close as you can to the barrel. Apparently that's what you're trying to do, but don't get the tar on you, because apparently if the tar gets on you when it's burning, it's going to take your flesh off. There's not really a set route, there's not really a race, there's not really a winner. No one really understands what they do. They just have 17 very strong men running around the village with boiling tar in barrels on their backs.
It seems really stupid.
But thankfully it's just one village that does it now.
That's the reason, because it's stupid.
Well, if you think that's stupid, let's move on to the next activity. Wife carrying.
Yeah. Sarah came down.
I love the fact you're like, yeah.
Well, Sarah came down to our village fete. I'm moving out of this village in a couple of weeks, but Sarah came down. We had the village. It happened to be she came down on the day we had the village fete. And we went down there and had a program of all the stuff for the day. And one of them was carry a wife race. So you put your wife on your back, and you race against other men. Or
basically, that's what you do.
Sarah said to me, and I was like, "No, we're not doing that."
It started with the Viking invasion of 793 AD.
So basically, you're being a Viking stealing a woman.
Yes, because when they used to rape and pillage, that's what they would do. They would jokingly get drunk and then pick up a woman and race each other with a woman that they were going to take off to do whatever with. But it evolved over the years to now it's just like you only do it with your wife. But the pictures, if you Google it, there's so many different ways to hold your wife. And there's one picture of a guy and he's like holding his wife like a reverse 69. So her face is in his butt. She's upside down. Her face is in his butt, and he's holding her thighs, and he's running so fast with her.
I'd hate that. If you fall, your head's hitting the floor if you're the lady.
But yeah, I'm glad you've heard of that one. I'm glad you've witnessed it.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, and most of my local fetes I ever go to always have wife. I was about to say wife swapping, wife running racing.
Your wife must weigh at least 50 kilograms, is the rules, and you must now wear a helmet. And you must complete all the obstacles.
Wear helmets.
You must complete all the obstacles.
There's no obstacle. It's just a race.
And you get £100 if you win. This is in some villages.
Yeah. This is not the standard rules.
In Finland, you get a pound of sausage if you win. And then
it'd be worth it for a pound of sausage.
But the man who completes the course with the heaviest wife, he gets a prize as well. So even if he's like the last one, if his wife's the heaviest, he's like, "Where's my prize?"
Well done, your wife's the fattest, Mick. Well done.
And the losers in Finland, receive a tin of dog food that they must eat in front of everyone.
That's weird.
Yeah. There we go.
Not just England then for those.
Oh yeah, that one extends out, doesn't it? Morris dancing. Let's get it done. Let's talk about
Morris dancing and the maypole are just hand in hand. If you see that, you're going to see the other.
Yeah, and the history of Morris dancing.
I like Morris dancing.
The history of it is very confusing and not fully known. Historically, they think it comes from Spain, but it's moved very strongly to the UK, to Britain, in the 15th century. They're not fully sure, but it's usually men that take part, sometimes women. They dress in white trousers, braces or breeches, tops with red braces on, and they have bells all over them, and they do very strange hopping, and they have swords, handkerchiefs and sticks which they bang and clatter together. There is some tradition, but it's a bit like being in a secret society. You only really get to learn the dance moves once you're like so far into it. I've never known a Morris dancer. Have you ever known a Morris dancer?
Well, no, I've not known one. I've seen them many times, but I don't. I don't.
But
And then
not
again, who's going to say to me when in conversation, "Oh, by the way, I'm a Morris dancer"? Oh,
exactly.
Okay. So I don't know. They might do it on the side. It's not really something you could do very often. I should guess. We could start a Morris dancers group.
Oliver Cromwell actually banned it for a while.
Why?
Back in the day, I don't know. And in Wales, they've stopped doing this now. But in Wales, when they do their Morris dancers, they put blackface on.
Oh, brilliant!
But they don't do that anymore. You'll be pleased to know. Okay. And then again, to us, this is very normal. But let's talk about pancake flipping.
Yeah.
I mean, it's normal for us. Shrove Tuesday, pancake day. Let's get some pancakes, and we flip them. Very normal. I grew up as kids doing that.
What's pancake day? What does it do with Jesus? What was it?
So, Shrove Tuesday.
Yeah.
Religious roots.
Why do we eat pancakes?
So they were historically served up because it was the way to use up what was left in your cupboards before you fasted for Lent. So traditionally, you'd use up all the crap that's in your cupboards and make pancakes because you weren't going to be eating for a few days, because of Lent.
Reminds me of a friend who had no money one time. He was really hungry. And he looked in his cupboards and all he had was some cornflakes and some pastry. So he made a Cornish pasty.
Oh, that sounds awful. That sounds so dry. Was there anything in there that was wet?
No, I think that was it. A cornflake. It's just like, what are you doing? I'm making a cornflake pasty because I've got nothing else. Like,
that's
wow.
So dry. That's so dry.
That's a bad state of affairs if you've got nothing in the cupboard to eat and you're hungry and that's it.
I mean, I was like that once. My dad used to be a milkman. This is a very British tale. And milkmen didn't just deliver milk. They would deliver like biscuits and other dairy products. But my dad said, you love broken biscuits, don't you? Because in the UK, we get a big box of broken biscuits. So basically, even though the biscuits are all fucked up, they still sell them in a box called broken biscuits. And it's like halves of this. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's just loads of broken biscuits all crumbly together.
My dad gave me a kilogram of broken biscuits for and I had, at that point, and my parents didn't know this, I was so poor. I didn't have any food. So for about 2 weeks, I lived off this kilogram of broken biscuits.
Wow.
I would pick out like 5 or 6 bits for my breakfast. Then I do the same for I take them to work and I eat them secretly so no one knew. On my lunch break.
Why didn't you have any money for food?
I had no money for a good month or so. I was really poor, and I was living off these broken biscuits. My housemate, after about 2 weeks, my housemate realised what was going on. She was like, "Are you all right? Have you just been eating these biscuits for the last couple of weeks?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm sick of fucking chocolate biscuits." Oh.
Fucking hell.
But it wasn't a Cornish pasty.
Yeah.
That's awful. Anyway, so yeah, pancake flipping. So we flip pancakes because it's to do with Lent and Shrove Tuesday. But it's just really in the UK that we do that.
Oh, is it?
It's a very strange thing.
Because obviously pancakes got like IHOP in America.
Yeah.
So
it's just a very strange thing. And the last one on the list is the Whittlesea Straw Bear Festival. Not the Wicker Man, the Straw Bear.
Okay.
in Whittlesea, which is in Cambridgeshire. So the time.
Sarah's told me about it before.
Has she heard about it?
Pretty sure. Well, she's in Cambridge.
Yeah.
But kind of.
Cambridgeshire.
Yeah.
So the Town Straw Bear Festival, which is held in January of every year, somebody gets in a 5-stone metal and straw costume and then walks through the town streets accompanied by loads of dancers, Morris dancers, and a few other people dressed up. And
basically a folk horror movie.
It's a 200-year-old tradition. It was banned in 1909 because it's associating with begging, which is weird, and then came back in 1980. It came back. Weird. And in 1999, the Germans loved it so much that they've started doing it in some of their towns and incorporating lots of Bavarian beer in the mix as well. They don't set the bear on fire though, sadly, at the end.
Oh yeah, it's not Midsummer.
No, or the Wicker Man. But there we go. There's some very strange. If you weren't from Britain, if we said to, if I had some American friends come around or someone from, I don't know, Russia, and I said, I can't tonight, it's pancakes, and they'd say, sorry? Oh, I'm flipping pancakes tonight. What does that mean? What are you talking about? What did you do this weekend? I did some Morris dancing. Excuse me? What is that? Yeah. Trying to explain it to people. But every country's got their...
I wear white and I put a load of bells on my knees and a clang, 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 and I hit my stick with another man and he hits his stick against mine.
It's weird, isn't it?
All right, well,
it doesn't even look like they're doing it in time to anything.
No, it's just no. Anyway,
Bill, do you want to flip your pancakes and get us out of here?
Bang your stick, Bill. Bang your stick.
That's all the time we've got for this week on World of
Strange.
Next week, though, gimme Ira. Hairless pets. Weird.
The curse of the werewolf that was laid on a baby who grew into a man possessed by a monster. To this Spanish town, the night brought drinking and dancing, music and girls, and the moon. The full moon that turned an innocent man into a savage beast. The curse of the werewolf. A man possessed by a desperate need for love, who found in Christina all the passionate sincerity of youth.
Christina, do you love me? Will you marry me, Christina? You say you love me, will you marry me?
Yes. Yes, I will.
Help me! Get away! Get away!
No.
Get away!
No.
No!
The Werewolf from 1961. That was Oliver Reed running out of booze. This one itself is only 1 hour and 33 minutes. Nice, short and snappy, these little ones. In 18th century Spain, an adopted boy becomes a werewolf and terrorizes the inhabitants of his town. Short and sweet. Now, this is
it's an odd one.
The only Hammer werewolf film, but also, do you know why this is so significant, Gav, in the world of horror?
No. I was going to say only a movie Oliver Reed's done, a horror movie, but it's not because he's done others.
No, it's not. It is the first colour werewolf movie.
Oh, splendid.
So it's the first time we'd seen a Wolfman in colour. And it's quite terrifying because Oliver Reed is quite a big, bulky guy. And we can talk about Oliver Reed in a moment and how strange he is behind the camera. Loved his booze, loved his ladies a little bit too much.
Well, we're talking about the day he died.
What happened the day he died?
I'll quickly, you keep going and I'll quickly just explain.
Oh God, because he died making Gladiator, didn't he?
Yeah.
They had to CGI his face onto a body double to finish off that movie. But yes, the interesting thing about this film as well is it doesn't feel as Hammer as some of the others, and the reason for that is it is in Spain, and that's because Hammer had the opportunity to use some sets that had been built for a Spanish movie about the Inquisition, but the movie was abandoned and these sets were going to just get torn down and be a waste. So Hammer said, well, we'll use these and we'll do something with them. And they had this werewolf movie that they just turned into a Spanish werewolf movie for no reason.
Okay.
So, yeah, they managed to get hold of these sets and do something with them. And they've obviously got Oliver Reed involved as well. And it wasn't as big back then. And it's, again, another classy affair, you know. We got some different... We got royalty, we got priests, we got busty wenches again, and Oliver Reed thrown in the mix. And what's interesting again is Oliver Reed doesn't even show up till about 45 minutes into this. So it's quite a lot of backstory on the werewolf boy, and it's an interesting curse because it's not your typical werewolf curse. He's not bitten by a wolf. It's because he was born on Christmas Day, weirdly. He's cursed. And he's got the old hairy palms, Gav, hasn't he? The old hairy pom-poms.
He has.
Did you find out about Oliver Reed?
Yeah, I just needed the actual... I know about it. I just needed the actual facts.
Okay. Can you tell us what happened on his final days?
Yeah, well, Oliver Reed was a person who liked having a drink. Like,
to say the least.
It's a weird thing because I now don't drink because Dan doesn't. So I don't go out like you should listen. You should be with the Lord. I don't go doing that to people and stuff like that. But I do look at alcohol in a different light nowadays and see how bad it is and like, more of almost like a drug and like something which is just quite bad actually. Oliver Reed loved alcohol. If there wasn't alcohol in the world, I don't know. It was just like literally he absolutely loved it. He's an alcoholic, but he loved it. Day he died, he was shooting Gladiator. I've still never seen that movie, and it was shot in my town.
Incredible film.
Yeah, not my sort of thing really. Basically, he had a break for filming Gladiator, and they were in Malta at the time. So I don't live in Malta. Some of the Gladiator was filmed in my town. And he challenged the Royal Navy frigate HMS Cumberland, which is in the pub. He challenged them all to a drinking competition. So this is one guy challenging the Navy to a drinking competition, essentially. But
he's quite old at the time as well.
Oh, this hasn't got the actual how much he drank. That's so annoying. He drank like a crazy amount. Oh, so frustrating. And he was only 61, which isn't really that old, really, but he looked older from drinking.
Same age as Demi Moore when she made The Substance.
Wow, there's a difference nowadays to that. And he died in a heart attack from drinking with them. I'm gutted. I haven't. The figures are just crazy.
Bloody hell.
I'll see if I can do it.
That's like the time that Andre the Giant got challenged to a drinking competition and he ended up drinking something like 120 pints.
Yeah.
And he passed out in the pub and no one could move him, so they had to leave him asleep in the pub until the next day. And he woke up and they were like, yeah, we couldn't move you, Andre. You know, you weigh like half a ton and you're 8 foot tall, so we left you here. But apparently while he was asleep, he let out a gigantic fart that like rattled all the tables around him. Not the same as Oliver Reed, you know, but still Oliver Reed, yeah, he loved to drink. And if you want to go and get stuck into some interviews about, of him turning up on talk shows in the 70s and 80s, hammered, making a bit of a fool of himself, quite frankly. And at the time, it was seen as quite manly. Hey, Oliver Reed, he loves to drink, but it's not really that great behaviour when you realise that he was probably not great to women around him.
Yeah, I don't really know that so much. I still can't get how much he drank, but the bar owner says he still has the tab because no one paid it.
Oh dear, Ridley Scott didn't want to fork out for that one then.
Oh no, if I were in the pub drinking himself to death, that's his lookout.
One last fact before we get stuck into the Curse of the Werewolf. My grandma had a cat called Oliver. And my grandma's surname was Reed.
Oh, really?
But spelled R-E-I-D. So different spelling, but Oliver Reed. And when I was about 10 and I started hearing and knowing about actors and stuff, I suddenly realised that my grandma had a cat called Oliver Reed, which I thought was very funny. But there we go. Should we get stuck into some Spanish werewolves?
Definitely. I am still just trying to get the amount of drink. I've seen it before. I can't find it.
Was it more booze than Dennis Hopper drank in a day on the set of Easy Rider? Because he drank a lot on the set of Easy Rider.
It was a ridiculous amount he drank.
Dennis
I've looked at the figures before, but I don't know.
Dennis Hopper was like drinking a couple of bottles of rum a day on his own.
Yeah.
On the set of Easy Rider.
Oh man, I can't even think who it was. There's an actor, a very a known actor in a role which we'd all know in the movie, who would drink in the morning. He'd drink like a whole bottle of whiskey or whatever, and he'd be, as soon as it says roll, do the lines perfectly, absolutely every time, and it was like waking up drinking that, and it's just like, that's insane.
Yeah, well, that was what Matthew Perry's life was like when he was at his worst. Obviously, I've read his biography, and it's tragic what happened to him. But he couldn't cope without at least one bottle of vodka before he'd left the house. That's a lot of booze to put away, and then he would then take the pills to balance things out.
That's just destroying your liver,
and then
and your bladder.
The ketamine and everything else, and he was absolutely ruined.
Destroying your liver, absolutely. That's what's going to take you down.
Well, that's why his bowels imploded, and he didn't die from it, but he almost did, and then he did die from it. Wow. But anyway, hey, Oliver Reed, he's a werewolf. Oh, let's get into it.
And if you don't know Oliver Reed, ladies, I'm sure you do. If you don't, or you do know about him and know of him, but you've never seen anything, you can easily go on YouTube and find Oliver Reed drinking, and there's just videos of him. There's one of him where he's in a leather jacket with a massive big grey handlebar moustache, just walking around going, like on a live show. It's just like, fucking hell.
If you think Nicolas Cage doing backflips, throwing money at people is bad, but then Oliver Reed is like
drunk, not coked.
Imagine if you were an interviewer on a show like that, and you've got 3 guests tonight, Gav, on your show,
and one of them they say is Oliver Reed. That one's you're flagged up.
You've got Oliver Reed as the top one, but you've also got a new actress called Grace Jones.
Oh wow!
Because you remember that interview where she slapped Michael Parkinson and was like trying to wrestle him and fight him because she was so drunk.
Wow.
You've also got this new actor called Nicolas Cage. He's coming on as well, and then we'll have Oliver Reed at the end. Imagine your show that night.
Yeah, people would like to see it.
Because those 3 are some of the funniest interviews I've seen, but not funny, weird. Well, anyway, this is the first ever colour werewolf film, as I've said, and we open up with some crying werewolf eyes.
Oh, sad.
Sad wolf man.
Sad.
Oh, I've got hairy palms.
Sad. Oh.
I've got hairy palms.
I'm sad.
Very, very, very hammer score over the credits playing.
It's in Spain and it's a public holiday.
Yes. 200 years ago, it says, in Spain.
I've got, again, another posh cunt mocking their chef.
Yeah. Well, a beggar arrives, first of all. And he's sort of, this is weird.
Yeah, it goes to this beggar goes to this big place, and who answers the door?
Well, he says, why are all the bells ringing?
Oh, yeah.
And the guy says, don't you know?
It's a public holiday, isn't it?
Can't you read? And he says, well, no, I can't. I love it. He says, no, I can't. I'm a fucking beggar. So he says,
which is a very stereotypical homeless person, really, back in the day, because like we wouldn't think of a homeless person nowadays could not read.
So then he goes to a pub, and this is where he's told, yes, it's a public holiday. The reason for that is our king is marrying, and all of our money, all of our tax-paid money is going on his wedding. And if you want to know,
that's what happens to us anyway.
He says, "What are you doing here?" He says, "Well, I'm begging. Can you give me something?" And they all laugh. "No, you idiot! We haven't got any money or any food because it's all gone to that bloody wedding up the hill." He says, "Why don't you march your beggar ass up that hill and knock on the door and beg them for something?" And he goes, "All right, I will." And he does. And he goes banging on the door. Imagine you're in the middle of your wedding. You're a king in this village in Spain, and a beggar knocks, ruins your wedding. Got any money? Got any food?
It shouldn't ruin a wedding, though, really.
But anyway, so today, you twat.
The person that opens the door says, like, "Not today. You should get out of here." It's Q from the old James Bond films, Roger Moore,
yes, it is.
Sean Connery films. Yeah, it's Q. I was like, "Oh my god, it's Q!"
I love Q,
and he's in it a little bit as well. And he says, like, "No, you should get out of here." He's trying to be a little bit alright.
He's trying to be nice, yeah. He's trying to be
a bit
nice.
Slightly civil, but this other guy, he's not a dickhead. But obviously, the fucking posh twat. No, send him in. He could be our entertainment.
Yeah. Well, we realised how horrible it is because just before the beggar knocks on the door.
What is he, P. Diddy?
Oh, just before they knock on the door, he says to his queen, says, "What's that?" And he says, "It's goose, my dear. We've cooked it for you." And she goes, "I don't like it." And he throws it on the floor.
Another woman that doesn't want to be getting married to this guy who's just getting no choice.
And he makes the guys pick up the goose off the floor.
A little bit of a wing or whatever, just throws it and makes it. Yeah. And it's just. But the homeless guy says, "Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you."
And they take the piss out of him. They say,
actually,
they really take the piss out of him, and they're laughing at him. And they say,
the wife says, "Don't mock him."
She says, "Don't tease him. He's a man, not an animal." And she says, "Oh." Her husband says, "Do you want him as a pet, my dear? Is that what you want? How much to be a pet for my wife?" And he's like, he goes, 1 peseta, 10 pesetas. And it's like, 10 pesetas, my lord. Yes, I'll be a pet for your wife. It's like the
how degrading is that, though?
Oh, it's horrible.
And the woman at first obviously doesn't want this, but like no, but then he's about to like do whatever to him, and she's like, no, tries to save him by saying, "Oh, give him a drink if he's my guest, feed him if he's my guest."
So they make him drink,
but he says no, he needs food, no, he needs to drink, and makes him drink, and this is
a massive glass of wine.
I don't want to keep saying it. We've said P. Diddy so many times in this episode because we've talked about it before, so I don't want to say it, but this is exactly what he's been doing. Is forcing so it's someone with power. I won't say the name anymore. Someone with power has got money, people around him egging him on because they're going to, because otherwise they're getting thrown out the circle, using people and forcing them to take stuff in, which is going to make them do crazy things for their entertainment. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, because they make him now, because he's now drunk, they say to him, "Right, now you're drunk," because he gets hammered instantly, because he obviously hasn't eaten for days, and they give him gallons of wine. They say, "Right, I want you to sing and dance for us."
And he said, "I can't dance, sir."
And they make him do this really embarrassing dance. I feel really sorry for him, actually.
Dance
and they're
for your
all
food.
And he's looking around at them like... And then he says... He falls over and they say, "Why don't you come and get some food like a dog that you are?" So he crawls over like a dog and starts barking because he hasn't eaten for days. And she's obviously very upset about this. And he just stands up and says, "Well, I'm taking my queen off to bed now. We've got business to attend to." Wink, wink. "Have a good night," says the beggar. "What did you say?" "I said, have a good night, my lord." "I'll make sure you have a good night. Lock him in the dungeon."
And he's forgotten about.
And they literally forget about him for years.
Yeah.
See you later.
And he's in this prison. And it's really weird, though. So I'm just going to put this out there straight away. This person is not a werewolf.
No, he's not a werewolf.
No, he's just a homeless person. Somehow... He can spawn werewolves, though.
Well, the reason that the curse of the werewolf comes about is because the child is born on Christmas Day. So in Spanish tradition,
if
you're born on Christmas Day,
Jesus a werewolf? Werewolf Jesus?
No, but on Christmas Day, if you're born on Jesus' birthday in Spain, it's really bad luck. You're going to be cursed. You're going to have a deformity.
So that's the reason.
Yeah, that's the reason.
So anyone that's born on Christmas Day in Spain is a werewolf.
Yeah. Isn't that good?
Every year we've got another couple of werewolves running around.
Oh, for fuck's sake, we've got werewolves here.
So weird.
It is weird, but that's Spanish werewolves for you.
So this fella's put in prison and forgotten about, so it goes all hairy and skinny. And it does have the jailer kind of brings him food a little bit and has a daughter that's quite...
God.
They're kind of... She's a mute daughter, but they
She's
kind
mute.
of feel okay. They're kind of like all right people, and they kind of feed this guy because he's been forgotten about.
Well, they cut to many years later where the jailer has died, and then the daughter...
And the daughter still feels bad, so carries on feeding him.
Oh my God, she's
nice to him.
Hot.
She's nice to him, but then he goes and does what she does to him, though.
She's super hot. Yeah, yeah.
Which makes it horrible.
But she is super hot, Gav. She might be one of the hottest Hammer horror girls.
I can't remember.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I watched this with my beloved dearest, so maybe I wasn't looking.
The funny thing is, in the posters for this back in the day and still now, one of the posters is Oliver Reed as the Wolfman holding this girl in his arms, but that's his mother. So that would never have happened because she dies giving birth to him. So anyway, very strange. But anyway, so she grows up to be this hot girl who still brings him the food because her job, I guess she inherits her dad's job as the jailer, making sure that he's still fed. And we also understand that the Queen died, leaving the king to be an old, horrible recluse with a bit of a horrible face. And the jailer's daughter goes upstairs to him at some point and he says, "What's your name?" And he basically tries to rape her and she bites him. And he says, "Right, throw her in the dungeon to teach her some manners."
Yeah.
And she gets thrown in with the beggar. He takes one look at her cleavage.
I'm looking at a picture of her now.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah, she's right.
Come on.
She's right.
So very tastefully, the beggar grabs her, and then we cut away, and we just see her lying on the floor, and she sort of wakes up with a few cuts and bruises on her, and we know, sadly, she's been raped by this beggar.
By the guy that she was being looked after from her. So
yeah, and we mentioned she's still mute. She still has no voice, so she could not have called out or screamed out for help.
Not that they'd have done anything.
And this does something in her brain now. She's had enough. They let her out. "Oh, I hope you've learnt some manners now." And you've got to go up and see the king. He wants to see you. And obviously, he wants to have his way with her as well. She gets up there, and the first thing she does is pull out this really sharp object that she's been hiding behind her back. And she stabs him to death multiple times. The king is dead. And she runs off. She collapses in a forest. She lives in the forest for a few months like an animal.
I'm glad he was stabbed to death as well, because they go up to his place, and at this point it says, like, he's got turned into a recluse and nobody likes him anymore. And like, because
his wife died of stress.
Twat. Yeah.
Well, I love the way that she pulls out this thing. He's like, "No," and she stabs him, and then she just keeps stabbing him.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, she lives like an animal in this forest for a few months, and then eventually she collapses, and she's found in a lake in the river by a man. And he pulls her out of the river and takes her home and nurses her back to health with his wife.
And then the man that finds her is narrating the story.
It is.
And we find out she's pregnant.
Yeah, she says, "Oh, well, she's lucky to be alive, and even luckier that her baby's still alive." And he looks at her like, "By Jove, what?" Even though this is Spain, they wouldn't say "by Jove." She said, "Yeah, she's pregnant."
It's quite controversial. Pregnancy via rape is a very, very obviously a horrific, horrible thing. And it's a very controversial thing as well.
And another part of the curse, I should imagine, Yeah. So, much like Freddy Krueger, etc.
Yeah, I guess. It's part of the law.
So it's Alfredo that rescued the girl, the servant girl, and his wife. And
what is up with his pipe? What is all that decoration on his pipe?
I haven't really noticed it.
Big grey pipe with all this crazy decoration on it. It's massive. And he paints with his big pipe sticking out his mouth. It's really big. It's normal, it comes out, then on top of it almost looks like it's a load of buildings on it or something. It's really weird.
Is it a crack pipe?
No, it's just obviously a tobacco pipe, but it's just weird as fuck.
Yeah, I've seen some crazy pipes in my time.
This is weird, though. It's just I don't understand what's going on there.
Well, they decide to look after this girl, Alfredo and his wife, and she's mute. So they're sort of saying, tell us what happened to you, girl. And she's like, she can't.
That must be awful back in the day if you were mute, yet you couldn't read or write. That would be so frustrating that you couldn't communicate.
How do you tell anyone anything?
Yeah, only the people you're growing up with, like your parents, and then they die, and it's kind of like, you know.
Well, Teresa says to her husband, Alfredo, oh God, I think that this woman's going to give birth. I hope it's not going to be on Christmas Day. And he's like, what do you mean? She says, oh, do you not know the curse? This old Spanish tradition, if he's born on Christmas Day. He's like, isn't that like a good thing, like Jesus? Exactly like you just said, Cav. And she says, no, it's terrible. Let's hope this baby's either a bit early or a bit late. Oh.
Well, I was just imagine Jesus that turns into a werewolf on full moons.
Imagine they put him on the crucifix.
I would watch Werewolf Jesus.
Well, maybe that's why they tried to put him on the crucifix, because they knew he was going to turn at full moon. And that's why there was some silver involved.
I turn water into blood.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, I'm trying to think of other things to do with werewolves and Jesus, but it doesn't work. There's more chance that he was a vampire.
Yeah.
Anyway, this girl, a few days later, she goes into labour. And while they're downstairs, is that the noise of the baby coming out? Is it? There you go.
Hang on. So it would be. Oh.
Well, there is a funny little howl that happens, isn't there? Like an animal howl just before the baby is born, before the cry of the baby. They go up and they see her, and the baby's so beautiful. And then they show the baby to her mum, to its mum, and then she looks at it and then just goes, dead. And she bled out and died, sadly.
Segway. I bought a new TV, forgot to say.
What's that got to do with bleeding out and dying?
Hasn't. But I got a big JVC TV. I did what
JVC,
you did.
same as me.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I got a Rock-U one. Did you get a Rock-U one?
No, I got Fire.
Oh, I got a Rock-U one. Because I was like...
Roku.
Oh, I don't know.
It's not Rock-U. No, it's Roku. Do you not know what a Roku is?
No, what's that?
Roku is a device like a Chromecast or something.
Oh, I know that. I just didn't know it was called
It's not called Rock-U.
Oh, all right. I'll call it Rock-U. Anyway, I got that one because there's loads of different channels on there. There's loads of free horror channels.
On your Jivik TV?
Fuck off. There's loads of horror channels on. I can't help it. I can't talk properly. It's a problem I have. And I'm still a podcast host for 10 years, which makes no sense. And it's got loads of different horror channels, which have got loads of like old school horror movies. Quite a lot, actually. I was quite surprised by them.
Oh, that's good.
But I did what you did. So I was in the shop, right? And I'm with Elijah. I was like, Elijah, can you come help me buy a TV? I even cleared my car out because I just had those. I was like, I'm sure they come in huge boxes. So I cleared my car totally out so I could put a massive box in my car. It wasn't that big at all. But I persuaded Elijah to come. I don't want to come watch TV. I said, it used to be fun looking at TVs. Come on. Dragged him out and we're there looking at them. And the TVs are so big, £4,000 TV. They're so big. And then I saw one. I was like, it's kind of smallish, but it's 42 inch, which isn't really small. But with everything else, it looks really small. I got it home, but it's too big for my TV stand. So I've got a plank of wood. It's on sticking out of the. It's ridiculous.
That's what we did.
It's so much bigger. I did exactly what you did.
We got the 43 inch.
Okay. Maybe I got a 43 inch. Yeah.
Yeah, it probably is.
It's probably the same TV. Yeah.
We looked at it in the shop compared to the ones next to it that are like 80 inches. I was like, well, that one's probably about the same as our one we got at home. Our one at home was probably 36.
Yeah.
So when I got it back, I realised no, it's because the ones next to it were giant.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did.
It literally just fits.
Mine is too big for my stand, so I've got to buy a new stand. I was like, for fuck's sake. By the way, very quickly, go into the advanced settings on your JVC in the picture mode and go to colour tone, because they've got it on cold as preset, and turn it off. It makes everything like green or blue, and as soon as you turn it off, you're like, oh, that pops a bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, go back to the Werewolf film. Sorry.
Thank you. If you need any more advice on Jivix or Rockus, then
fuck off.
Gav will help you. So yes, the baby is basically then adopted by Teresa and Alfredo, because they're kind, really lovely people.
Yeah, they take this woman in, the crazy pipe man and his wife took the woman in. She gave birth, died. They thought, let's take the child on ourselves, because they didn't have a child. It kind of works.
Yeah, let's get it baptised. Oh shit. So whilst it's being baptised, lightning starts mashing down, the rain comes, and as soon as he puts the baby near the holy water starts bubbling up. And they all look at each other like, is this a curse of some kind?
Now, I'm wondering if the people who developed Omen, the first Omen film, watched this and went, oh, well, basically this is the Omen film we're making. Because a lot of things in this movie is like the Omen, with the child of Satan, obviously, and things happening. It's very, very similar to this film.
It's true. Well, let's cut to a farmer. Finds a goat with his throat ripped out. He shouts to his buddy, Pepe, "Oi, Pepe! Why the hell do I pay you to look after our animals when you're just letting wolves come around and rip out people's throats?" "Well, I don't know. I'll have to go out and have a look for this wolf. I haven't seen anything around here." "Well, do your bloody job, Pepe, for God's sake." And Teresa, he goes back and says, "Oh, bloody goat had its throat ripped out." And Teresa says to this farmer, "Oh, that's funny. A kitten was found with its throat ripped out earlier today, and it was little Leon, because they've called him Leon, the little boy, who'll grow up to be Oliver Reed. Little Leon's kitten as well. He really loved that kitten. Well, I hope he didn't see it, because he hates the sight of blood." Does he? But does he? Mm-hmm. He says, "Well, yeah, I took him out hunting, and he almost got sick when I took him out. Yeah, so he really doesn't like the sight of blood." Interesting. They find Leon and they say, "Oh, it's time for your dinner." "No, I'm not hungry, thanks." "What?" "Yeah, I'm not hungry. I feel like I'm really full up." "Is that because you've just eaten a goat and a kitten when you were off being a little werewolf, Leon, is it?" So he's about 10 years old at this point. He looks a bit like a little Pugsley Adams type character.
He looks very much like a young Oliver Reed.
He does. They've done a good casting
really
choice.
Well cast, yeah.
And Pepe gets told, go and hunt and kill this wolf. You've got 24 hours, basically, to track this shark down. I mean, to track this wolf down. It's not a shark, is it?
I get him. I take him down.
All right, I'll get this wolf in 24 hours. Bloody hell. Anyway, full moon that night. And Pepe has his gun, and he hears a howl, and he thinks, there's something over there. I'll shoot it. And he shoots, poor little Leon, who's out running around. "What are you doing out here?" So at home, Alfredo and Teresa, his uncle and auntie, or adoptive parents, they tend to his wounds, and they go, "What could have happened? Oh, what's this pulled out of his leg?" A big round shot from the shotgun.
And the guy's like, I saw a wolf and I shot at a wolf.
Yeah. And they're like, "Yeah, whatever, mate." And he's like, "No, I did.
Yeah.
And there's a few more dead animals as well from that night, which we know now Leon is probably killed, but they haven't figured that out yet. But Alfredo and Teresa do look at his windows and think, how the hell did he get out of his room? The only way out, I guess, was through the window. But because we would have heard him come down the stairs, how did he get out and jump out the window? So they ask him, "What happened? Where did you go last night?" And he says, "Great bit of acting here from child actor. You don't get it very often." He says, "I really can't remember anything. I just have this dream, and I have a bad dream every night where I go and I put my face in the blood and I drink it, and it tastes so sweet, so sticky and sweet." And I just think the poor boy, it really sells it to me that he's having these horrible nightmares about drinking, tasting blood. And Alfredo says, right, show me the palms of your hands. And he flips them over, Gav.
I got hairy palms and it's not from masturbating.
Why was that always a thing at school?
I have no idea.
Well, you get hairy palms if you keep doing that.
Surely you wouldn't, because you'd wear them down.
That's what I always thought. And I tried enough times, and I still didn't get any hairy palms.
I've got not one hair.
No.
Not one.
And you're a massive wanker as well.
Chronic masturbator.
Chronic. Imagine if someone has once killed themselves from masturbating. A boy did once. I read a story about a boy that did it. Like, he was doing it like 12 times a day, and he died of like fluid loss or something like that. He was so dried out.
Like a little prune.
I'm gonna get one more wanking before the end of the day. You'd have worn it down to a little nubbin. Now, Teresa is very distressed because not only is her boy having these nightmares and he escaped his room, but he's also got hairy palms, so she thinks he's a massive wanker. Alfredo says, I'm going to go and talk to this priest about dark forces and evil and stuff like that, because they know about that kind of thing.
It's Omen. It's fucking the Omen. First Omen movie. Yeah. Richard Donner's just like, yeah, basically going to remake this movie, but it's just going to be with not a werewolf, but the Antichrist.
And he says to the priest, do you think he could be cursed? My wife has mentioned this curse. And this is the first time we hear the word werewolf, because the priest says, there is such a thing as a werewolf, which is where there's a man's soul in the body of an animal.
Yeah. I love this. To stop the werewolf, happiness and love. Love is the key.
Love is the cure.
Love generally is the key for life. I'll let everybody know this right now. If you're ever looking for anything in the world, love is the key. Honestly. And it's not just my love for my wife or whatever. It's the love of just love. You know, love and existence.
Love is all you need.
Love is all. Well, unfortunately, it's as cheesy and as cliche as the Beatles singing that it is. It is.
It is true.
It is. At the end of the day, love. Yeah. It's, you know, I love doing this
all
with you now.
All you need is love.
Anyway, I love the fact that this werewolf, what you do for this one, I love the fact that they're just throwing it, right, well, basically this is the first colourful werewolf movie, we're just going to throw loads of shit at this. Basically, you turn into a werewolf if you're just born on Christmas Day in Spain.
Merry Christmas.
We're just going to fucking do whatever we want with this. And to stop the werewolf from coming out all your life, you're absolutely fine if you've got someone that loves you and you love them for the rest of your whole life. You won't be a werewolf.
So basically, your mum and dad have got to love you, but also try and find a wife or someone that will love you as well.
Because at a certain point, he does. We're getting to it. I'm jumping ahead, but at a certain point, he grows up and he leaves the home. And I was like, okay, so he hasn't got love here. Has he got a love meter? And it's slowly going down. But as soon as he meets someone, it's going to top back up, and it'll be all right.
Well, his mate Jose certainly takes him off to find love at the brothel later on, doesn't he?
Well, exactly. Love in any form, I suppose.
But yes, the priest says, if he finds true love, his soul might be saved from the werewolf curse.
But it's like, someone's writing that, so I'm going to have true love. So what's the werewolf? So how's it? True love stops it, dear. True love stops the werewolf.
So what about silver bullets? Yeah, they work as well.
Silver bullets too, but we're going with true love for this one.
True love in our film, it's going to be true love, silver bullets, and burning. Those are the three ways to kill a werewolf. But true love is the top one.
It's a hard one, so he's got to have love. But if his wife was to pass away and his mum and dad were not there or whatever, and he didn't have love, you know, if he had a child though, then that love would still possibly be there.
Yeah. Because that child will love him. Well, we cut to some pissed blokes in the local tavern talking about. There's a man saying, blood was drained from the animals by the light of the full moon. And they're like, what are you talking about, Pete? And he says, he finishes with this. He's after ranting for ages, and they ask him what he's talking about. He just says, that which we shall not speak of, and then walks off. Fucking hell, you spent 10 minutes on a rant about something, killing animals and sucking the blood. When we asked you what it was, you just said it's that we shall not speak of.
I don't speak very much. I don't talk huge amounts. If you're with me, quite often I'll be quite quiet. Obviously, on podcasts, and that'd be a shit podcast. But generally, I like to stay quiet and not speak and stuff. But I hate it when someone just dribbles on and talks to me about something I don't need to know about, and as I'm listening to it, I'm like, I don't need to know this, and I can't stop you, and you're just going to keep talking to me. I hate that.
Chat.
Stop talking. You're right. My brain's having to remember this, and it's not important. So basically, stop talking.
Now, Alfredo has put some bars on Leon's windows to keep. He says, this should keep your nightmares away, son. In other words, keep you locked in if you try and escape the windows. And for some reason, we see Pepe, who suspects more than he's letting on. He has melted down his wife's crucifix.
He thinks that love better not, just in case love meter goes down.
He thinks, I better make a silver bullet. Because I've seen a few other movies.
A cross which was blessed by the bishop.
Yeah, his wife goes, where the fuck's my crucifix? And he goes, you don't even try and hide it. Just goes, I made it into a bullet. All right? And she goes, but hang on, that was blessed by the Archbishop. And he's like, I don't good. Then it's even more holy then, isn't it?
I don't care if it's David Hasselhoff's. I'm making a fucking silver bullet out of it.
Have you seen my Hasselhoff crucifix, Gav? I've melted it down.
Oh, what? No, that's my David Hasselhoff crucifix.
He used that on the set of Knight Rider. So yeah, he's got his silver bullet, and he loads it into his gun, and he sees a dog or a wolf. He's not sure.
Shoots at it.
He shoots at it.
Right, it's only one bullet. I wouldn't be fucking nilly-willy with it.
Now, Leon, because it's full moon.
Yeah, boy, you get home. I said, did you use that fucking bullet well? I've shot it at something, don't know.
You wasted my...
Wow, thanks for that.
Silver crucifix. I only had one of those.
Yeah.
Now, Leon is wolfing out a little bit. Little Leon. He's up at the bars trying to get out with big fangs.
Is there any 80s comedy horror movies called Wolfing Out?
Wolfing Out.
There should be.
It's just a werewolf driving around in a Cadillac.
Trying to get into college.
It's like Teen Wolf 3, Wolfing Out.
Yeah, but different. Tacky.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad you said that Teen Wolf isn't tacky.
No. I'm not a massive fan of it. It's a bit cheesy, but it's not kind of tacky. It's fine. It does its own thing.
One of my favourite werewolf movies of all time. Yeah. Now... they put him back to bed and they calm him down. Put your fangs away, Leon. Lie back down. Stop rubbing your hairy palms.
Actually, I'll have to let Elijah watch Teen Wolf. He might find that funny.
Yeah, I think he'd like that.
Yeah.
It's great for puberty as well, like helping you to understand these changes your body goes through.
He's this morning. Excuse me. I was going to do his home ed. I went and got some mushrooms, and we could do this online thing where you're dissecting a mushroom and you're going into it looking at how a mushroom works. And it wouldn't do it with me because I'll make it rubbish because you're annoying.
Oh, okay.
He tells me recently all the time how annoying I am. And I was like, it's turning into a teenager, and I don't care,
Oh dear.
I've been called all sorts from my lovely young daughter Daisy when she turned into a teenager.
Oh dear, I've got all that to come.
Oh yeah, you've got twice at once though.
Now, it turns out that Pepe, all he did was he killed the farmer's dog with that silver bullet. So you're right, his wife is going to be pissed off with him. And the farmer's also annoyed because he's lost his dog.
Yeah.
A bloody sheepdog. Anyway, many years later. Cut to many years later.
And Pepe's wife's still annoyed with him.
Yeah, she hasn't forgot. But... Oliver Reed is on the scene now. Leon is now grown into a fully blossomed Oliver Reed.
Before we did that, when we had the boy, there's a shot of him at the bars like that. Did you mention it?
Yeah.
I must have been just daydreaming. But
that's right.
When his teeth and the way he looks a little bit like the kid in Salem's Lot hanging outside the
really
window.
Did, didn't he? He really did. I thought that. I didn't say that, but yeah, you're right, he did. We got sidetracked by talk of Teen Wolf. That's what it was.
Okay. So Oliver Reed's now a grown, strapping lad.
And he's leaving.
He's doing that thing which kids can't do anymore. Leave home.
Because the voiceover says, and by then he'd grown up and we'd assured him of his terrible secret. And then he says, I'm off to make my own way in the world now, Father, or Alfredo. I'm probably going to try and get a job at a vineyard. And they're like, okay, goodbye, son. Take care. Bye-bye.
It's so well spoken in this, Oliver Reed. He obviously hasn't started drinking.
And he walks, he's off to get a job at a vineyard. Fucking hell.
It's the start.
He walks through the countryside. We get the jolly music playing, very unhammer music. This jolly score that comes in.
Yeah, I think this movie in whole is a bit of an oddity for Hammers, actually.
Yeah,
especially with Oliver Reed.
Well, it's almost like an accident. They basically got the set, and they're like, "Fuck it, let's do it. Who can we get to make sure it works?"
And it just happens.
Terry Fisher, get him in there.
Yeah. The guy he gets a job with is the neighbour from Hound of Baskervilles.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Is that the same guy? Oh, wow. What, Jose, the guy that he works with?
The vineyard, who gives him a job.
The guy that gives him the job. That's right. Stapleton, is he? Wow, okay. Yeah. Well, we get another moment which I'm sure you're going to get annoyed by, because Oliver Reed turns up at this vineyard and a carriage with a posh twat in it goes past and splashes him with mud. And they go, ha, 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 ha. And that's the girl that he's going to hook up with later on in there. So he'll get his own back. And then the vineyard owner comes out. He says, you look very strong. Are you ready to work? And he's like, yes, I'm strong and I want to work. That's it. That's your job interview done. Come on in then.
That's some good script writing just there.
And he says to him, I've written this down, Gav. He says to him, okay, this is where you work. You work from 7 a.m. till 10 p.m. every day with a 30-minute lunch break. Fucking hell. 7 till 10 every day? That's a long day.
Yeah. And probably gets paid shit all.
That's 15 hours a day.
Yeah, probably for nothing, next to nothing.
And then he meets his colleague, Jose, who's pissed because he works in a vineyard. That's
probably what you're going to end up because.
And he says to him, what do I do here? Then he goes, basically, you put the red wine in these bottles, the white wine in these bottles. Anything else I need to know? The labels go on the outside and the wine goes on the inside. Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to like this.
Yeah.
And he fills him in on the locals and he tells him that woman, that hottie that you saw earlier, Christina, she's marrying that guy. She doesn't love him. Another woman who doesn't love the man she's marrying, Gav.
Yeah, it seems to be a trait, doesn't it?
And he's like, oh, she's really hot. And he's like, yeah, she is really hot, but she's getting married to that twat, so I wouldn't worry about it. Well, she comes over and says, excuse me. And Leon's like, hello. She's like, are you the man that we splashed with mud earlier? I'm really sorry. I wanted to apologise for my stupid fiancé doing that. It's very mean of him. And he's looking at her like, ding, 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 ding. He's looking at her like Christopher Lee looked at that woman in behind the Baskervilles. And we as an audience learn that Christina is very, very unhappily engaged. She doesn't want to be with this guy. And she likes the look of Oliver Reed too. So,
cock.
There we go. Jose says, well, don't stop thinking about her, Oliver Reed, because I've made some porn. Look at this porn I've made. I've cut out some paper chains of women and I'm going to hold it up to the light and I'm going to move it around a little bit, and it's like primitive porn that they look at.
I can't believe that I've got no notes for the primitive porn. I remember it though very well. And
he holds it up and he goes,
that's why I'm
look
surprised.
At these
I must have been so
ladies."
surprised, but I just didn't take notes. I must have said, Sarah, what the fuck? And I just love the fact she's like, "Yay!"
It's like one step back further than in that Friday the 13th movie when he finds the Victorian porn films on.
It is. It's basically almost like this making our own porn.
It's crazy. Anyway, he says to him, don't be sad. You know what tomorrow is? It's Saturday. It's payday. We're going to go out. We'll go dancing. There's going to be music. There's going to be women. And Leon's like, oh.
Kind of pressured into going out.
Don't really know if I want to, really. Anyway, we find out that Leon and Christina start having an affair. And he says to her, let's run away together and get married. She says, I can't. I'm marrying someone else, and I just know where I can escape from this life. Oh, it's all very sad. So he gets depressed, and he goes back and he goes, all right then, Jose, take me to the brothel. I'm really depressed. Jose says, yeah, party time. Come on then. So Oliver Reed and Jose head to the brothel, and it is indeed party time. It's full of girls dancing. They're drunk. Everyone's having a great time. Jose's got a girl on each side of him, but another girl sees Leon and says, oh, I like the look of her. Her name's Vera.
Yeah, but there is a full moon.
And the full moon kicks in. He starts sweating.
Why now is his love meter gone down?
Might have done, because he's not with his Alfreda.
There's been other full moons that have happened.
I love the way you've got this love meter built into the plot now.
Oh yeah,
ding,
totally.
Ding, ding. It's like a video game.
Love full moon is a thing still, but if love meter goes down, full moon is more affecting.
It's because he's moved out.
Yeah, and love meter's going down.
And
a sex worker.
Hot girl won't run off with the hot girl. Christina won't run away with him and get married.
So
even though she's giving him kisses.
Yeah, and the sex worker isn't real love.
No.
So the full moon is starting to affect him because his love meter's gone down.
So he starts sweating, and she says, "Are you all right? Are you okay?" And he doesn't really answer her. And she says, "I think you should come out with me and get some air." So he stumbles outside. And she says, it's quite a saucy little minx now. She says,
she's terrible.
She says, you're not well. Maybe you should lie down in my room.
Yeah.
And then she says...
Then she sex pests him.
Then she says, we could slip up the back way. She literally says, we could slip up the back way so no one will see. Yeah, slip up the back way. I bet you could. When they put that in the script, when Terence Fisher said, just say that line, they were loving that they've got that past the BBFC or whatever it's called. BBFC, thank you. Slip up the back way. Anyway, Jose, meanwhile, is smashed with two girls downstairs. He's got one on each side of him, and they're going, where's your buddy? You said we're going to have a bit of an orgy. And he's like, I don't know where he is. He's upstairs with Vera, I expect.
Brewer's droop. He is not getting it up.
I mean, he's got two girls. He better try.
He's not getting it up.
So Leon lies on Vera's bed.
I've got a friend that almost every time he got drunk, or when he pulled, he was always so wasted pretty much every time. And he pulled quite often, and you'd be kind of jealous, like, how do you do that? But always get back there, and he'd think he could, couldn't get up. Every time. That must be so bad.
It's the worst. I've definitely had it happen, but not every time.
Give me the lady. I don't have the issue.
Christ.
Yeah. So she's at home, he's on the bed, and she's pretty much sex pesting him. They're all sweaty.
Well, he's spaced out, isn't he? He's staring off into the space.
Yeah.
And then the full moon,
almost.
The full moon comes on a bit more out from the clouds, and then he
starts to kiss her.
Yeah, he gets really animalistic. He flips her over and kisses her, and he's got a really weird look in his eyes. And she goes, "Ow!" And he's drawn a bit of blood on her throat.
Yeah, bitter.
And she runs over and she says, "If you want that kind of thing, you've come to the wrong place, Mister."
Well, you're the one that fucking cohered him into coming.
I think she means drawing blood, Gav.
And all of a sudden, a werewolf hand grabs her by the neck.
Yeah, and then we get blood everywhere. This is quite full on for a Hammer film, the amount of blood, actually. Now, this film got an absolute bollocking by the ratings, because when they presented the film initially, they told them there was too much sex and too much violence. So they said, you're going to need to cut down one or the other. So they toned down a little bit of the sex, and that was it. They toned down a little bit of the rape scene. That's why you don't see it at the beginning. And they toned down some of the girls' stuff here. But in doing that, the BBFC let them leave in all this blood. Because it's a lot of blood in this scene. And I know it's gloopy, bright red Hammer blood, but it's still a lot of blood going everywhere. Anyway, Jose says to his two girls, I'll go and find Oliver Reed and we'll get our orgy going. Let's go find him. So he goes knocking on the door. And he goes in and he sees Vera dead. And then by shadow, We see the shadow of someone strangling Jose. Poor old Jose.
We do. And then, go on.
Go on, what were you going to say? We do.
No, go on.
We see an old drunk then. Is that what you're going to talk about? The old drunk getting friend?
Well, no, I was going to say about my next note's about the guy who's still moaning about his dogs being killed 13 years ago.
Yeah, he's rambling about silver bullets.
13 years ago, that was. His dog being killed by a silver bullet, yeah.
I'll never forgive that bloody guy. 13 years ago, my bloody dog.
So that wife probably never forgiven him either.
And then as he's stumbling along, because he's been thrown out of the bar, it's like, go home, Harry, you've had too much to drink. No one wants to hear about your fucking dog.
So basically, without it kind of being telegraphed, so to speak, we have now got to... We're American Werewolf in London, where we've seen the werewolf change, and he's gone out on town. That's where we're at now. It just doesn't sort of show us this... We don't... It's a very gentle uphill to this. It's not all of a sudden a massive, like American Werewolf in London. It's a mid, well, going into the third act, I guess. Really, no, it's probably midpoint. Where it's that bit where it's just like fuck me, and that's where it's like, oh my god, we don't have that with this, but we now are in that territory where there's a werewolf out there.
Because a common complaint with this film is, firstly, Oliver Reed doesn't show up for 45 minutes, which is exactly at the halfway point. And secondly, you don't really see much of the werewolf. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I quite like that.
The werewolf looks good, though.
This night,
not have it very much.
This night, where he's basically on a rampage, he massacres. His first proper night as an adult werewolf. He's killed that Vera, the sex worker. He's killed his housemate, Jose.
Yeah,
and now he's killing this old drunk guy in the street.
Well, I'll tell you what, you see the wolf shadows on a roof, which is really nice.
When he jumps off the roof, it looks great onto that guy.
Some really cool stuff going on, yeah.
Really athletic, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was Oliver Reed doing some of that.
Yeah, I expect so.
He jumps onto him and he kills him as well. And Alfredo wakes up Leon later on, so he's made his way home, all the way back to his uncle and auntie's. Not at the vineyard. His animalistic nature made him go all the way back home. And he wakes him up and he says, Leon, where are you? Where are your clothes? You bent the bars. You got out of your room. How have you done this? And he says, I don't know. I can't remember. And they say, all right, we're going to tell you the truth now. You're a werewolf, mate. Plain and simple. I'm really sorry. You're a werewolf. And he's like, no, I don't remember anything about last night. And then he says, all I remember is blood all over my hands. And they say to him, look, Leon, we have got some good news. Love is the only cure. They tell him the whole thing. You're a werewolf, but love is the only cure. And they're like, okay. And then the priest says, look, I want to get him into a monastery. He keeps saying this all the way through. I reckon if I can get him in with the monks, he'll be all right.
I'm actually wrong. I was saying there's gentle uphill here in werewolf territory now. We're not, because it does stop here. He's not a werewolf anymore. We actually do have a point where there is a build-up leading up to it, because there's a moon coming up again, and he's like going to be leave me in jail. So we actually do have a tension riser here. I'm wrong from what I said earlier.
But it's still like a burst out of nowhere. But you're right, it does stop for a little bit.
It does. That, I guess. Yeah, we had that showing us that it stops, but then we're building up to another werewolf attack, which we know is going to happen because we now know there is a werewolf.
Well, a great little piece here. As any person who woke up cannot remember what's happened and then is told they're a werewolf, love is the cure, and we're probably going to have to lock you in a monastery. He can't take it, and he just runs off, and he collapses in the countryside, and he sort of walks along a little bit, and then two cops find him. Hello, they say. We want to talk to you about your whereabouts last night. We understand that your boss is the owner of this vineyard, and your housemate's missing. And he's like, I don't remember it. I was very drunk, and I ended up back at my parents'. And then his boss appears and says, Oi, you went to that bloody brothel with Jose? I'm disgusted by your actions. Get out of my sight. Make sure we're ready tomorrow. So he's all spaced out. He's very forgetful. Nighttime comes, full moon. Oh shit.
His girlfriend stays with him at first, doesn't she?
Yeah. Christina comes in.
Passively aggressively asks her to marry him.
Well, he does that in a minute. He pressively says to her, like, get away.
Yeah.
And she says no. And then he falls down the stairs and she stays with him. and he doesn't transform because love is the cure, as we've said.
The love meter's topped up.
Yep. And this is where he says to her, he grabs her and he says, Christina, let's run away and get married. It's like, Jesus Christ. All right. She says yes, of course.
But then he's saying, tell the mayor I need to be executed and burnt alive. Hang on. Make your mind up.
Hang on. That's in a minute then. So that's before he's arrested, when he asks her to marry him. Because then some men arrive and arrest him on suspicion of murder. We found your bloody clothes at the scene. You're coming to jail. That's that. And then he realizes, okay, if I can't run away and be with Christina, I'm going to turn into this werewolf again. I'm going to kill people. So while he's in jail, he says to the jailer, can you go and get my dad, my adopted father, Alfredo? And he says, why? And he says, please, just do it. And then Christina is caught by her father trying to elope. He says, where are you going? She's like, I'm running away with my fiance, Oliver Reed. And he's like, ha! He's in jail for murder. She says, well, I want to go and see him. And he said, well, I won't let you. Then her fiance that she was supposed to marry comes in as well. And he says, what do you mean you're marrying someone else? You're supposed to be marrying. She says, give me a carriage. I'm going to go and see him in jail. No, I'm not letting you go. She runs off and she steals his carriage and heads off to see Leon. Now Leon begs, as you said, please kill me, get me hung, get me burnt.
So why is all of a sudden he said that, saying, basically, let's get married and run away? Actually, I've decided I can get, but you don't need to. Love meter is what you need.
Yeah, but he doesn't think he's going to see Christina again. So right. He's in jail.
It's all do have all very civilised werewolf goings on in this film. It's all quite
very civilised.
Yeah.
His uncle and the bishop turn up and they say, look, all right, we'll talk to the mayor about getting you burnt alive.
See, it's all so civilised, just discussing. Because as you're a werewolf, we could find out. We could probably, we could probably get you burned. No problem.
So they go to meet the mayor. The mayor of this town. He said, hello. Now look, my nephew is in jail. Just to let you know, he's cursed. He's a werewolf. If we could just get him burnt alive rather than stand trial. And he's like, okay, well, let's go and take a look at him then. And the priest pipes up, I could always take him to my monastery. Stop saying that. You're not having your way with him with the monks in the monastery. So the mayor goes over and he goes, right, show me your hands. Show me your teeth.
So there's no palms there. Nope, your teeth aren't sharp. You're not a werewolf. Let me ask his fiancé. Is he a werewolf? No.
No.
He's not a werewolf then, is he?
There he is, Sherlock Holmes on the case.
Fucking hell, all right.
He says, right,
I'm going home for my tea.
He'll have to stand trial, and that's the end of that. I'm not going to burn him to death. See you later.
Yeah.
And then Oliver Reed says, look, I know someone with a silver bullet, Pepe. Go and get it, Dad, and use it on me.
Yep.
He's a bit distraught, obviously. Christina is told about the curse.
His cellmate's Michael Ripper. Classic Hammer person.
Yeah, background guy.
Well, in loads of films. He's the one I love in The Plague of Zombies, where he's in the pub and he's like, hello, what's this?
He always plays like a...
When everyone leaves the pub and he's alone by himself in the pub. What's going on?
No, he's in the cellmate with Michael Ripper, and the full moon is shown, and you think, this cellmate is fucked.
Yes.
We cut briefly to his dad finding Pepe and saying, I need the silver bullet now. And Pepe's like, oh boy, here we go.
Not again.
Leon changes.
Yeah. Get a hand transformation.
It's good. I love those old school sort of...
it's universal. Yeah, it's just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Christina goes to visit Leon's adopted parents. And... she finds out all about the curse and all this, that, and the other, and love is the cure. We keep getting told. The prisoner is killed by Leon, and Leon rips the door off, kills the jailer as well. So he's on a rampage now, and the whole village see him, and they see him climbing around on all the rooftops.
Really good makeup, looks all really good.
Yeah, and I love a bipedal werewolf as well. And he's running around. He's a wolf man, really. Like, he's not a werewolf, is he?
It's a wolf man, very really. Frankenstein. We've got the town folk after him.
Yeah, with their pitchforks and torches. And they're chasing him.
I don't know how. He's just jumped out and got on the roof. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, is a group of people. How do they know? How have they formed so quickly?
Oh, that's what they do back in these villages.
How do they form so quickly? Are they ready? Like, there's going to be something. Come on, everybody, let's go.
It's like the neighbourhood watch. As soon as there's a monster on the loose, everybody get your pitchforks. Which type of monster is it? A vampire? Frankenstein?
I watched a movie again recently, which I actually really quite like, and I actually thought about possibly covering it with you. The Watch.
With Ben Stiller.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite good.
There's quite a lot of blood in it, actually.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Yeah, I thought maybe we could cover that.
We could do that one with Attack the Block or something.
Yeah, I don't really like Attack the Block, but I would do it to review it. So,
yeah.
All right.
Well, we'll add it to the list. He climbs, he scales a wall, they set a few buildings on fire. He manages to get to a bell tower, and the sounds of the bell, it's very Quasimodo now. Hunchback of Notre Dame, because the bell tower is hurting his ears and he's trapped and he's howling.
There's a bit where it's like he's doing early parkour.
Yeah, he's like bouncing around.
It's very Tom Cruise like.
And Christina sees him and she is horrified. She's like, that's the guy I was going to run away with, and he's a grotesque werewolf. Oh no. So it's down to Alfredo, and it's his poor adopted dad, his uncle, climbs up with a silver bullet in the rifle, and he looks at him, and it's not his. He knows it's not him. It's just a werewolf.
One of the crowd members looks like Willy Wonka. He's got a top hat, and it looks exactly like Willy Wonka.
I'm describing a really heartfelt moment. And you're like, and Willy Wonka was in the crowd.
He looked like it. He had a really big hat. Sorry, carry on.
No, it's fine. I love a big hat. And he shoots him in the chest. He shoots Oliver Reed in the chest.
It's quite a sad almost. Get up there, and all of a sudden these bells start ringing out, and he's just
it's like Quasimodo, like I say.
Yeah,
it's
or the
like
Frankenstein monster. You kind of feel sorry for the monster, when it's not totally the monster's fault.
Because he swings the bell at his dad, almost like saying, "Please do this. Like, I want to be dead."
Yeah.
Like provoking him.
It's quite sad actually.
And the saddest bit for me is after he shot him in the chest and he doesn't turn back. This is rare for a werewolf film. He doesn't turn back into a human. His dad covers it, takes his cloak off and covers it over his son's face with teary eyes.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've just had to kill my adopted son. So that put, they found.
Well, think about how the son came to him.
Yeah, I was going to say they found this woman in the river. She was pregnant. She died. She was mute anyway. So she could never even tell them that she was raped.
And it's not almost his tears aren't sadness for himself. His tears are sadness for the kid who was born from this. He didn't know what the rape, etc. But Mum died, and we tried our best, and just he was a good kid, and then grew up, and it's quite a sad ending really, and it's a fairly good performance, Oliver Reed, under all the makeup.
And it's a very different werewolf film.
It's really different, and
it's
old.
It's not really a monster film. It is more of a curse film, really.
Yeah. I wonder. I wonder what other people think of this film. Say people who are non-England, growing up with Hammer and stuff, to watch this film now and think what. Jamie, what do you think of this film? You're a big werewolf fan. What do you think of this film?
That's true. She's a huge werewolf fan.
So I'm just interested, Yeah,
it's like you said, it's definitely an oddity, and partly because it's a Hammer's only werewolf film, partly because it's the first colour werewolf film, but thirdly because it's quite a classy tour de force of acting, really, and story. Just happens to have a wolf in thrown in the mix, like a werewolf. It's very strange, but I do really like it, and it's a staple of werewolf films, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I really like it, and it's a thumbs up, as was the other one earlier.
Yeah, we did that, and I'll give them both thumbs up. I hadn't, it's the second time I watched this movie, but always different when you review it for the podcast. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it's really good. I've got not a lot to say on it, really. It's just great.
Not really. It's a fairly good story. I'm not going to watch it loads. If it was on, I might watch it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it. I've seen it now. I reviewed it. I remember.
I own it. So I'm happy to, like, I kind of own a lot of werewolf films. Some of them quite shit because I love werewolf films, but that's that really. But there we go.
I got it on videotape at a car boot sale for 25 pence. I watched it and went, it's all right, and sold it on eBay for £25.
Bloody hell.
And that was probably 20 years ago. Anyway.
Yeah, these sets, by the way, were shot at Bray. So it wasn't filmed in Spain, Bray Studios in Berkshire. But they were the film that was going to be made was called The Rape of Sabina.
Oh.
And then the BBFC objected to the script, which contained lots of rape. So they shut down the production of that film.
Why is that?
And then Hammer were like, "Oh, that's cool. Well, let's
change it."
Yeah, but actually, it's not a huge change because they were going to set the film in Paris, and then they just changed the film to Spain.
English Werewolf in Paris.
Oh, Oliver Reed getting drunk in Paris. That'd be brilliant. But there we go. Yeah, great movie. Both great movies. I guess the last.
I picked red wine out my nose in Paris.
Oh, wonderful.
Never done that before, ever. I was like, why is red wine coming out my nose?
Well, I was about to say, Terence Fisher, thank you. We salute you. Thank you for all your fantastic horror films with Hammer, especially. And we hope you've never puked red wine out of your nose, Terry. Old Terry Fish.
Yeah, somewhere. I think there's actually video of me doing it. Somewhere.
Oh, my God. Get it on the Facebook page.
I don't know where it is now. It's probably gone, long gone. But yeah.
God,
anyway.
I'm so glad social media wasn't around.
Oh, God, yeah. There is a few things of me around still, but nothing too bad. There's skateboarding videos where there's bits where there's like one bit where I'm doing a line of paracetamol.
Oh.
As a 15-year-old kid.
There's
between skateboarding. It's a video and I was watching it going, okay. I don't remember that, but all right.
There's video footage somewhere of me out there dancing to the entire full-length, 6-minute extended version of Jump by Van Halen on my own in a living room.
Wow.
There's also video footage of me at a wedding dancing with the bride's garter on my leg. It was one of my ex-girlfriend's cousins. So when she looks at that video, she'll remember me 20 years later because I'm the drunk guy with the garter on my leg.
Yeah.
Great. Anyway, let's take a break and come back to the outro.
We're back.
We are back. Well, Terence Fisher.
Back in Black. It's an AC/DC album.
Back in Black.
Back in Black. We're not though. I'm in white and you're in green.
I'm in green. I've got a black T-shirt on that says Dario Argento on it though.
It does.
But I'm also wearing Bermuda shorts. So.
Glad. I thought it was nothing.
No. That was Terence Fisher. That was another director's special. That was also a sneaky Hammer horror double bill for us to get us in the mood for Halloween.
Spooky times.
So that was episode 164. So
I'm two things. John Carpenter, breaking news.
Oh,
John Carpenter's now tweeted a message saying, "What's a letterboxed?" So that answers that one.
So it's not him.
And the other thing is, I'm actually DJing a Halloween party this year down at the Cobbett.
Are you going to be dressed up?
I potentially might be making a Freddy Krueger music video soon with someone in a Freddy Krueger costume. And if I still got a costume, I'm going to wear that. But I wear glasses, and it's a cunt when you wear glasses to do costumes because you can't do masks or anything. But if I wear a hat, no, I can't wear a hat because I have my headphones on. But I could wear a stripy jumper.
People don't know where you are.
That's what I'll go for. That'd be it. Yeah.
Well, Halloween is coming, so our next couple of episodes will be leading into October. So let's talk about those. So our next episode will be episode 165, which is another patron pick, and that'll be Holly. And she's
a couple of Irish numbers.
Yeah, Irish comedy horrors. The Boys from County Hell from 2020, about an Irish folk horror vampire thing great. Can't wait. It's based on a real story, and there's a lot to dig into on that one, if you pardon the pun. And Extraordinary from 2019.
Yeah.
Which is another Irish comedy, as I say. So that's going to lead us up then to our Halloween special, episode 166.
And I am moving house, so we're going to try our best to sort this out and get, obviously, a Halloween episode out when we can.
Yes, so we're hoping both of them will drop in time.
I can, yes.
But 166, our Halloween special, will be, as always, the next in the franchise, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child.
Okay.
And Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, both from 1989. So, tail end of the 80s with those two. Interesting.
Is that the one with Remy Harlin did Part 5?
I cannot remember.
I was listening to an interview of him talking about the movie, the Nightmare one he did, and like how he tried to really change it and put a lot more in it. So I was like, oh, that'd be quite interesting to watch. So it might even be Part 5. It's just talking about
it might have been 4,
passion.
actually.
Maybe it's, I don't know.
But we'll talk about them. It's Freddy Krueger and it's Michael Myers.
I'm going to look now while you talk.
Okay. So that's Halloween. And then, Gav, you're going to be excited for episode 167 because we're covering The Exorcist 2, The Heretic.
And I've never seen it.
Exactly. And The Exorcist 3.
Oh, very good film.
So we're going to be covering Exorcist 2 and 3 after our Halloween episode. So lots to look forward to. Some Irish comedy horror, Freddy and Michael, and then some Exorcist sequels. Excellent stuff.
Yeah.
Have you found Rennie Harlin yet? I think it was 3 or 4 he did.
I'm getting to it.
He's getting to it. Everyone, he's getting to it. Come on, Gav, we're waiting. We're waiting. We're excited.
Well, yeah, it's because he did other things, you see. Oh, sorry, I should have just clicked director, but I didn't. It did prison. Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was the last one.
Okay. Right.
But there we go. So that's what is coming up. And don't forget, Substance. Go watch The Substance, everyone, please. I'll remind you again at the end. Right, Gav, I'm going to do some housekeeping and then we can say our goodbyes. We are the podcast on Haunted Hill. Thank you, everybody, for listening to episode 164, as we have been for the last almost 11 years now, in a couple of months, believe it or not. We have always been a proud member of the Legion Podcast Network, and we also fall under the Deadbolt Media umbrella. You can find out more about Legion if you go and visit legionpodcast.com. Find out more about us and all of the other shows on our network. We're available on podcast on Facebook, the podcast on Haunted Hill. We have our own page. Join it. It's brilliant, especially in the month of October, which is coming up, where everybody starts posting about their 31 days that they're going to be doing. And Legion have their own Facebook page as well. And we have an email address, which is the podcast on Haunted Hill at outlook.com. You can email us, ask us questions there directly. Wherever you're listening to us now is where you can always listen to us. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Podknife, Podbean, the Apple app, Podcast Addict, and many, many other places. And we're on Instagram, the podcast on Haunted Hill Insta. And Deadbolt is our production company, Deadbolt Media and Deadbolt Films. If you go to deadboltfilms.com, we also have a YouTube channel and an Instagram, which is just Deadbolt Films, where you can find out more about all of our short films, comic books, features, and the other podcast that Gav does.
Podcast, the High Strangeness podcast.
The podcast on High Strangeness.
Yes, with Sarah.
The High Strangeness.
Speaking spookiness and all things weird.
And we are on Patreon. So if you'd like to become a patron, you can do so to support us.
Very quickly,
you don't have to do it.
Very quickly, the episode we just put out was really fascinating to record. I don't know if you heard it. Talking about incels.
I haven't listened to it yet.
It's really fascinating conversation, actually.
Oh, I'm normally on it, but I think because I was busy today with Substance and stuff like that.
It's quite a long one, but we really just started talking about that whole side of things. It was really interesting, actually.
I'll give it a listen tomorrow. Yes, we're on Patreon. If you'd like to become a patron, you can do so for as little as £1 or $1 a month. You will get a free T-shirt in one of 3 colours sent to you. You'll get to become a patron who has your patron pick. So every 3 episodes, one of our patrons picks the 2 films we review, tells us why they love them, why they want us to review them. And you also get named at the end of each episode, which I'll do in just a second. And you get exclusive bonus content as well as access to all of our back catalogue through Patreon. Every Freaky Friday we drop one of our old episodes exclusively to our patrons. So thank you to our patrons who are Dante. In fact, let me do these in my Hammer Horror voice.
Yes.
So thank you to all of our patrons, starting with, of course, Dante, Don Collier, Matthew Godley, Jamie Jenkins, Kevin S5. I said that as Britishly as I could. Sarah Kay, Rachel, RJ McCready, and of course Lex Boo. Thank you all to our patrons.
Thank you so much.
By Jove. Yes, that's the housekeeping. I just want to say, as it's going to be October in less than a week, just 31 days, guys. You don't have to watch something every day. You can just watch one film. But as long as you partake in Halloweeny, spooky stuff, whether you play a video game, listen to the Thriller soundtrack,
you could do a series, so you watch.
Doesn't matter what you do. Yeah, it doesn't matter what you do.
All the Ghostbusters episodes, like the cartoon or something.
Oh yeah, that'd be amazing. Well, I was going to say I'm doing.
Yeah, you're quite cool.
I think I've got 38 Universal monster films and horror films. So I'll be watching those, and because they're only about an hour and 5 minutes each, a lot of those, I've realised I'll have a bit more spare time. So I'm also going to watch every single episode of The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror, which I'm really excited to do because I've never done that.
Yeah.
So although I'll be doing more than 31, but I'm not going to put all of them on.
Many of those episodes you've not seen, The Simpsons at the Treehouse ones.
I've only seen 1 or 2 of them. There's 34 of them.
That's honestly, that's so cool because there's so many movies they, homage.
I can't wait.
Like I know what you did last summer, and it's basically Ned Flanders as a werewolf doing his midnight walks. Don't
they also have where some of them are there's shorter stories into one episode?
Yeah, it's generally 3 or 4 stories in an episode.
Oh, I can't
generally
wait.
3 episodes or so, but you get loads of films. You'd be like, oh, this is The Shining. Oh, this is Conjuring or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I probably won't post those up because they're only 20 minutes each.
Yeah.
But I'll certainly post up my Universals. And you're going to just watch favourites, aren't you?
Yeah, I think so. It's very hard when I put. I'm a weird person. I've come to terms with this over the years. It's fine. And I'm quite odd and strange. And if I put pressure on myself and I put labels and things and stuff, it becomes almost too much for me. It's a weird thing. So I'm trying to this year just flow with it. So I figured I'll just kind of go, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to watch that. And I was going to kind of go films. I might do new stuff as well. I don't know. I'll just be watching movies. I wish I could do like you do. But I don't know why I can't do that.
Well, it is a lot of work because I actually have sat down over a few nights and written up a spreadsheet, sadly, of
I've seen
what I'm watching and where I'm going to be able to get these films from, whether I can stream them.
It's good to do that, though. I'm on a lot of found footage Facebook groups, and someone on there had put up a whole, printed up very nicely, their 31 days of found footage.
Yeah, because I now know where I can watch my horror movies, my Universal movies, because
where can you see all that? I've got the classics on the Blu-ray box set, which is very cheap to pick up, by the way, people.
Well, I'd say about 50% of them are on Prime to rent or stream. There's a couple of them on YouTube. I've got probably about 10 of them on DVD.
Yeah.
And there's a fantastic website called internetarchive.com, and you'll find a lot of very, very old films and music and commercials and adverts on there, and some of these that are no longer what do you call it, like when the Night of the Living Dead doesn't have no one owns the rights to it, what do you call it?
Public domain.
Yeah. So a lot of older films are on there now. So Internet Archive is where a lot of the more obscure ones are available, like House of Horrors, House of Dracula, some of the Abbott and Costellos. Because I've got all the Abbott and Costellos. At the end of that run, there's like 3 Abbott and Costello movies to watch as well.
Yeah, they're good as well.
And then I'm ending with Van Helsing from 2004, because that is officially a Universal horror film.
Not Van Halen.
Not Van Halen, Jump, no. Jump! Go ahead and jump. So that's what I'm doing, and you're doing favourites, and it's coming up, guys. It's really coming up. So on our Facebook page, you're going to see a lot of activity throughout the month of October, and it's such an exciting time. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But until then, by Jove, it's time for us to say goodnight.
Good night, all.
Good night from Terence Fisher.
Thanks for listening.
And good night from the creature who lives on the moors.
Indeed. Watch out for those dogs on the moors.
Wear masks.
On the moors.
It's a good night. Good night from Tarantulas on Christopher Lee's shoulder.
It's a good night from Terence Fisher.
And it's
He's
a good
gone
night.
fishing.
It's a good night from Oliver Reed, who is challenging a bar full of Navy men to seamen. Oh my God! I'll leave it there.
Yeah, seamen
Good
challenges. Good night, everybody. Thank you for listening to the podcast on Haunted Hill. We will be back again real soon.